If no one minds, I'd like to kick our ghouls off this week.
Actually,
because
I mind. No.
I have a singularly unique ghouling experience, right? So
okay.
last night, I went to a dive bar to watch a punk show, right?
That's never been done.
It's never been done.
Completely
Singular
new.
to me experience. But
Innovative.
the funny thing was, I look up at the TV. They got 3 TVs in there. One
shit.
that's a live camera feed to the back room that shows the band playing. One
Nice.
that's always playing music videos. And the other that has something else on. And not tonight, but last night, the something else was Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, followed by 3 from Hell, followed by The Devil's Rejects, followed by 3 from Hell.
Holy shit.
Wow.
They played
I
the
know.
Fireflies trilogy.
They've played the Firefly trilogy muted with the subtitles on the TV.
That is
so
a choice. Holy
I walk in
shit.
and I get to, in dead silence, see Captain Spaulding talking about finger fucking good times or whatever the hell he's saying.
Right, that's the kind of
And
stuff he says, yeah.
There is a man posted up watching that TV.
That would be me.
And he was there for 5 straight hours
Oh my god!
watching the Firefly trilogy, knocking back beers. He
Dang.
walked outside to take a smoke. He comes back in, and he's just like bop, 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 watching these movies. I can think of no way that Rob Zombie would be happier to know his movies are being enjoyed
I feel like he
than
would love
by
that
a
shit,
bar
yeah.
playing his movies on Tubi on their smart TV.
So, Rob, if you're listening,
While a punk band plays in the back room.
Yeah, while 2 really nasty punk bands and one a lot tighter and more together punk band play in the background.
yeah,
It was a really, really good time.
He would be so proud.
Truly the way to experience them. And it bugged me because I'm like, if I wasn't here to
Support bands.
support these bands,
Right.
I'd be sitting out here also watching these movies just so I could have the fun of dropping a quick letterboxd review saying I watched this on mute in a bar.
Yeah,
that's so
genuinely.
good. That's
But
so
yeah,
good.
it was a wonderful, wonderful time. I walk back out to get another beer. Movie's still playing. That guy is glued to the screen.
Did you
Good
get a
for
good look
him.
at that guy's face? Was he Rob Zombie by any chance?
I can neither confirm nor deny. However, Sherry Moon Zombie was theirs.
So
Well, on the TV,
I could
you
tell
mean?
it was her. Well, yes.
That's amazing.
that
The
sounds
proof
like
that
a
the guy
great
was
time.
Rob Zombie was because he was showing his wife off on the TV.
I showed up at the bar. My wife was on the TV, so I watched, of course.
That would make sense.
I
What
would
else do you
too.
do? I imagine that's what Mike Flanagan does all the time.
I was gonna say, speaking of hot wives, we did also finally watch House Usher. It was really good.
I
Yes.
fucking loved House
Oh my
Usher.
god, what a show!
And Katie is especially hot in this
Yeah,
one.
Kate Siegel has been hot in many, many projects, but
That's true. That's very
none
true.
more so than House Usher, I think.
Okay, I got a huge confession to make right now.
Yeah.
Noah doesn't know what Kate Seagal looks like.
Why are you always saying Seagal like it's Steven Seagal or some shit?
It is just Siegel. That's
Kate
not the
Siegel,
point.
My bad.
I-
It's because of Sons of Anarchy. Be nice to me.
No.
Because of watching. Okay, when I saw The Haunting of Hill House, I thought Kate played the mom and not Theo. That's Carla Gugino.
Yeah.
Right? But because
You
she
just
has
have them-
only looked. No, here's the thing, right? Yes, kind of. Because since Kate's only looked hotter and hotter as the years have gone by, and I was surprised by that. I didn't expect that to be what happened. I
don't
see
know why
her
not.
in Hush, and then I see Hill House, and I know she's in it, and I know what she looks like in like Oculus. So
Yeah.
in my mind, for whatever reason, I'm like, oh, she should probably have some lines on her face by now. Hush was a long time ago, quote unquote. So I assumed, and because also, let's be real, Carla looks a lot like her. Like
No.
her,
No.
No.
I
just a
disagree.
little bit. No,
No.
This is a you
they're-
problem.
Okay, fine. It's just a me
Entirely.
problem. I had the two of them so goddamn confused.
Wait. Did you have them confused in Gerald's game?
No.
Okay.
Mike
'Cause they are
wishes
both
he
in
was
there.
so lucky.
It is literally only when they're in a show together that I lightly confuse
They
them.
were both
They're both in Gerald's game.
Gerald's
Okay.
game.
They don't share any scenes,
What?
to be fair.
They're
Yeah.
both in Gerald's game?
Kate
Yeah, Carla
plays
Gugino is the main character, and Kate
mom.
plays her mom in the flashbacks.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember
Yeah,
that.
so the
I
two
remember
of them
that.
are never like on screen together or anything.
Yeah,
but,
no.
like,
Every time a new brunette showed up, Noah's like, "That's definitely Kate."
It was so
LOL.
funny.
And then
Realizing
Kate's not even a brunette in the show.
Not in this one.
literally
no.
it's
Yeah.
No.
realizing at the end of this watching of Haunting of Hill House
Ah,
is when I finally have cemented what they both look like
There
separately.
you go.
Wow.
There
It's
you
That's
go.
so
I'm proud of you,
embarrassing
As long as you
Noah.
got
I'm
to
so
admit.
proud of you.
Yeah. I think
But
Anyway,
a line
House
that
Hush is really
constantly lives in my head from that show is Kate being like, "I don't give a shit, Beth."
yeah.
that one's very good. Also, you're the head of my PR campaign and you just took edibles. And he's like, "Do you want some?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"Of course I want some."
It's so good.
I really loved
Raul
Bruce
and
Greenwood's
Kate's dynamic are
performance
so
in the whole
good.
show as well. I thought he was fantastic.
Ruth Codd as Juno Slade.
Absolutely.
She's hilarious. Whole show's great. I could talk about it for hours. We might do a mini-sode.
We might.
I would love
That'd
to
be
do an
great.
episode
I would
on
love
this.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do a mini-sode. So
It's a full episode.
It's gonna happen,
It's not
yeah.
a mini. It's
Okay.
a full
We're
It's gonna
episode.
be
talking
a
about
full-
it.
We're gonna do. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Um,
Also, Samantha
oh my god,
Sloan.
Mark Hamill's character
Oh god, yes.
was
Oh,
so
gosh.
Oh my
good.
god, I love it.
I don't. Here's the thing, right? You sometimes maybe this is once again a me thing, right? But Mark Hamill has had such a like illustrious voice acting career
Yeah.
that I don't think I've ever seen him do anything other than the Star Wars twink. So in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's Luke Skywalker, and then he never plays that character again because he's been doing a lot of very intense character-driven work. I mean, he's
the
everyone's
Joker.
favorite Joker.
Yeah.
Like he does a lot of very serious roles. So when he shows up in this and plays a stone cold serious role, like with a lot of range to him, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm like floored.
It feels unfamiliar
Yeah, I think-
for me, but
I don't think it was Baz, but someone didn't realize it was Mark Hamill until pretty late into the viewing.
I'm not surprised.
That's funny and embarrassing for them, but also not embarrassing because he doesn't look like what most people probably
No.
remember him looking like. Also, he has a buzz
If
cut
I
in this.
hadn't known from the announcement of this movie that
Mm-hmm.
he was going to be in it. Okay, I have a great segue here, so allow me. They wrapped filming on Life of Chuck a couple days ago. Really excited about that.
Oh.
You know who else is in Life of Chuck that I'm very excited to see Flanagan direct? Matthew Lillard.
Let's
You know
go.
what I watched this week? Finally, the first Scream movie. So this is where I start my
Oh.
really quick
right, you
rapid
haven't
fire.
seen it before.
I
Right.
All right,
totally
so Nina's
thought
about to
you were
knock
gonna
out like
say
17.
Five Nights
I-
at Freddy's?
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Five Nights at Freddy's.
No. That was the first Scream. Okay, I'm gonna do quick rapid fire ghouls here because we watched a lot of really
ghouls.
intense 80s and 90s action and horror this week.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Noah and I watched Scream, Scream 2, Terminator, Predator, Total Recall, and RoboCop.
Fuck yeah.
Dang.
That's a week.
They're all very good.
That's a lot of movies.
Scream notes. People touch each other a lot more than I was
was that for
expecting,
you?
and because of that, I'm very bisexual about Scream specifically. I also thought that Billy and Stu was going to be a lot of subtext that like was not in the movie because people like you saw the Saw edit that I sent to the
Oh,
chat.
absolutely.
Yeah.
People love to ship two men in a horror movie. These men kissed for sure.
Yeah.
Not like on screen, but they have kissed.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scream 2 was fine. I'm mostly at this point in the rest of the Scream movies for Gail and Dewey and almost no one else. Terminator, incredible. No one told me there was going to be a very compelling romance in that movie. I loved it. Predator, goofy. Loved it.
Predator's a silly, silly movie. It's just all guns and muscles.
Guns and muscles.
Have
Total
you-
Recall. Wait, no, go ahead.
Have you watched Prey yet?
Not yet. I need.
Oh
that's
shit,
next.
you gotta.
I hadn't
It's
seen the
good.
original Predator.
Yeah.
Right, you want to watch that first. I loved Predator.
Noah has a quote from me on his letterboxd about Predator. It says, Nina, 5 minutes in. Is this the type of 80s movie that's so homophobic it just becomes gay?
Yes.
Noah, what? It's literally just homoerotic. It's not homophobic
Yeah.
yet. Nina, yet? Noah, I don't know. I'm sure Jesse Ventura is going to say the F slur or something. Noah. Buddy, I had no memory that he literally said it, and then it was 2 minutes from where
Oh
we
my god,
were.
I'm just like,
That's
I don't know,
hilarious.
Jesse Ventura probably says the F slur, just thinking as like,
wasn't
oh yeah,
even.
Noah, the funniest guy around, ha 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 ha. No,
He does. It was
so
moments
soon.
later.
Forward, really hard, because no one wants any tobacco.
Yeah.
They weren't even
so
supposed to
Predator-
be filming that scene. He was just talking.
He was just talking. Predator was good. Total Recall was, I think, my favorite. It's a lot more fantastical than I was expecting. I wasn't expecting so much of the sci-fi to be so overtly like fantastical and whimsical and fun in a very gritty, like anti-capitalist way. I loved how out there and how far it took its just special effects and stuff, and how gung-ho they were to show off their face exploding in a oxygenless environment
Oh
like
my
sequence
god,
of
it's
effects.
wicked awesome.
Ooh.
It's really grody.
They really hold on it like 3 or 4 times in the movie.
Yeah, no, they're like, take a look at how
Nice.
good this looks as it explodes.
And then RoboCop was good. I really wish that they just left Murphy's visor on for the entirety of the
Yeah.
movie. He
Yeah.
looks ridiculous.
He looks
but,
real funny. Yeah, without that.
Yeah, that was another one where I think that I find the message of Total Recall a little more hopeful and coherent than in RoboCop. RoboCop's kind of continuous like centering of cops as being victims of capitalism and victims of themselves of the power structure was a little frustrating given like recent stuff, but I can see why in the 80s that's how they framed it.
Well, yeah.
The band I saw
And
last
it's-
night had a song called A Cab parentheses except RoboCop.
So
Yeah.
those are all the 80s sci-fi movies that and horror stuff we watched. So I'll just
That's
throw that out.
incredible.
Pretty cool.
So good. I have some that I would like to rapid fire.
All right.
One of these is definitely not horror, but I just want to give it a quick shout out. But we'll start with the horror. So recently I watched Hell House LLC Origins, the Carmichael Manor,
Oh, right.
which for those longtime fans, you'll remember when we talked about the first Hell House LLC movie, which I think we all enjoyed, and it
Yeah.
was a good time. Creepy movie, does some good scares. I think I watched the second Hell House movie at one point,
Ooh.
and then never touched the third. And
I heard it was
I
bad.
can't imagine
Yeah,
this going well.
the second wasn't great, and the third I heard wasn't good. But then Origins came out, and I saw people online talking very positively about it. And so I wanted to give it a watch, and I felt like it was a very good follow-up to the first movie.
Oh,
And I think it holds that kind of standard up there with the first movie. So if you liked the first one, I think you'll also get a kick out of this one.
okay.
Creepy, fun, some good like creepy scares and things. Had a great time. My next movie is Slaughterhouse. Have
Oh
you all
my
heard of
God.
Slaughterhouse?
I have heard.
Yeah.
I
of
have
this.
heard of Slaughterhouse.
It's incredible.
Okay.
It's basically a sorority girl who wants to become more popular in her sorority gets a pet sloth from this person who is like a questionable like animal dealer, and the sloth is a killer sloth. And everybody in the house falls in love with it and treats it as like the baby and all of this stuff, but then people start betraying the girl and betraying the sloth, and so the sloth starts sneaking around killing everybody. And it's
Oh, okay.
so ridiculous and so fun, and there are literally just moments where I was like hysterically laughing. It's definitely like an incredible horror comedy, and I would absolutely recommend it just for seeing like a puppet sloth just running around doing stupid shit.
Does the sloth move fast for the killing, or does it do it all slowly? If that's not a spoiler.
It's a special sloth, so it moves around quickly. You don't really see it move around quickly, but like you'll get like there's
like
a dark
Insidious?
room.
Like...
There's a dark room and lightning flashes, and you see it in one space, and then lightning flashes again, and it's in a new space.
That is so funny. You know, maybe I will.
I highly recommend it if you just want like a fun movie one night. It's so good. Another movie that I want to give a shout out to is When Evil Lurks.
Okay, yeah.
I watched
I've heard
this
really good things
a couple weeks ago. Incredible movie. There are some definitely intense trigger warnings. If you have any triggers related to like kids and animals, probably not the movie for you. But I haven't watched a whole lot of possession horror media.
Oh, sure.
But possession movies tend to follow like a pretty similar like structure, I feel like.
That's been my observation, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And this is like an incredible marriage between like possession and like zombies, where
okay,
like there aren't
Evil
zombies, but possession spreads from a singular like possessed person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like a possession of, oh, these people are possessed by demons and now they're acting really erratically and running around just screaming and attacking people. It's like all of the people who become possessed become extremely like methodical and like creepy and disturbing.
Ooh.
And it's so cool. It like really gave me a lot of beautiful inspiration of like, the fact that like possession can look like this in a story is incredible. And I fell in love with it. It also has like, overall the film is creepy, but it has 2 or 3 particular standout moments of just like horror. One of which I've never like full body like lurched like that ever in my life.
Ooh, okay. Definitely checking this one out then.
Yeah. Highly recommend if you're comfortable with things happening to kids and animals.
Sorry, that was a little too zealous, but you know.
Specifically like violence towards kids and animals, not
good.
other things.
Right.
Violence towards kids. We
Violence
love
against
that.
children. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to shout out that's not horror at all is last night I finished the Scott Pilgrim anime.
I need to watch that. That's my plan for tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. Please message me as you do.
Oh, I certainly will. I've already
I need
seen
to talk
clips.
about this with people.
I've seen clips that suggest that they fix what is my least favorite part of both the comics and the movie, which is Roxy.
Yeah.
I wanted them to do her so good, and at every stage I read the comics because I was like, maybe they'll do Roxy better in the comics, and they didn't. So
Roxy
I'm looking forward
is great
to the anime.
in this.
In Kim, I've seen clips of Kim, and I'm like, ah.
Yeah, if you haven't watched the movie or read the comics, definitely at least watch the movie before watching this. This adds a lot, and that's all I'm really going to say. And I've seen a number of people online. I feel like there's a culture and an understanding that Scott Pilgrim is not a good guy, and that a lot of the characters in like the movie and the story are like exceptionally flawed. But then there's like a subset of fans that are like, Scott's awesome. He's like the man, you know? Which is not the takeaway you should have. And those fans have not liked the animation.
Yeah. Fuck them.
But other people...
Normal people, shall we
Normal
say.
people. It's really, really, really good. I had like a smile like throughout all of it. And it's so thoughtful and like meta in a lot of ways. And it's such a joy.
I'm
so if you
excited.
liked the movie or the comic books, absolutely give this a chance.
Nice.
Yeah. High recommend.
Emma,
Yeah.
there's another movie you need to talk about.
There's another movie I need to talk about.
Yeah, a movie that you may or may not have watched because I posted a really bad edit to the TikTok and you also got a creepy doll.
Yes, so I watched Saw, the first Saw.
Yay!
And I posted my thoughts in our Discord server, so shout out Discord server. If you're not there already, you should join. But I liked it. I was surprised that I liked it. I was not wanting to like it. I went into it being like, I'm going to hate this. But at the end, I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed it.
I went into it expecting you to hate it.
Yeah,
you were
genuinely.
like, I guess I'm going to watch it now. I'm like,
yeah.
Emma's going to hate it. Emma's going to hate it. It's okay.
And then you started posting your thoughts, and I was like, I think Emma's just having fun.
As soon as you said Lair Bear, I'm like,
fun.
Emma likes it.
Yeah, I was
God,
having
she
fun.
understands.
Yeah, that was really funny. It was Lair Bear is a golden tier meme. I am unfortunate. I was right when I was like, if Emma keeps calling him Lair Bear, it's gonna fuck me up in a big way.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch some of the other ones. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one. It's a solid 8 out of 10 probably.
Wow.
Oh
That's
my
a way
God,
better
I'm
number than I
over the
would've
moon.
expected.
That's
I
higher
had
than I
fun.
rate it.
I had fun.
Hell yeah.
It really is just a fun. It's a more fun time than you expect the reputation of the movies to have. But I feel like once I started meeting people who actually liked Saw and not just people who were like, oh, the Saw movies, you know.
I mean, especially once it gets its own identity past, to quote Ebert, a shameless 7 ripoff. It really does kind of take off.
And it never forgets where it comes from, which is important.
Mm-hmm. Emma's getting the Billy doll.
It's Billy.
Yeah.
There he is,
Billy.
Billy.
Yeah.
Oh my God, his hair makes him look like Smash Mouth Man. Rest in peace, Smash Mouth Man.
Smash my man.
I was going to say
You're not
Gerard Way a
wrong.
little bit.
Oh, he is
In the
giving
right
a little bit
era,
of Gerard
you know.
Way.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
He's
the
got
bow tie
that
doing that
energy.
for me as well. I don't know.
It's the really
Yeah.
tight-lipped smile.
Yeah, he's just a silly little
They
guy.
do be
you know?
having a tight-lipped smile, don't
Really, yeah.
Yeah.
they? Okay. Anyone else got
So
ghouls?
I've
Jeff's got some.
got 2 ghouls that shouldn't take too long. One's not really technically a ghoul, but the first one is Noah's descriptions got me a little curious, and I watched Species.
Oh,
I'm
no!
not
Okay,
going to
wait,
spend a
wait.
lot of time on it because I don't think
It's-
I have a single thing to say about this movie.
It's such a nothing
It's-
weird, not good, but it's there.
It's
movie.
definitely got stuff happening in it, but what the fuck is it? The movie goes absolutely nowhere, but it does it with such purpose that you think it's doing something.
It tricks you into thinking it has a plan
It
other
just
than
rolls
just
until
showing
it
off
ends.
naked women.
It just
And
rolls
then-
until it's over.
Yeah.
Every now and then they're like,
and it
here's a
ends with the
fantastic
worst
monster
CG
design.
you've ever seen.
Yeah, the CG
Like,
is real dog
They
shit.
have a
It's
practical
bad.
monster set, and they didn't use it.
I don't know why they would have that thing and not use it. Like, if they would have let me look at it more, add an easy 2 points onto the movie's rating. As it sits,
Right.
it's just like, I don't know, what the fuck was that?
Have a sec. Let me see what I clocked it at on my list. It's got to be around here somewhere. Species 3, Species 2, Species 1. I gave that a 2.5 out of 5.
It seems like about what it
50%.
deserves. It could have been a 4.5 if they would have just showed us the monster more. Because,
Frankly,
when you get to
yeah.
see it, it looks good. But they
Yeah,
just...
it's a Giger thing.
Yeah, it's Giger. It looks like
it's
Giger.
with
I
a
love
capital
that. I don't
G.
know why they would be paying money for a Giger and then not showing it off.
Frankly,
You would think that's the whole movie. Like...
I do want to formally apologize for tricking you into watching Species, though.
Oh, no. I had low expectations. You didn't fool me into
Now,
nothing. I knew what I was
If
doing.
you watch Species 2, you gotta let me know. Species 3 is dog shit.
The
So is
first
Species
one
2, but
does not
Species 2 is
have
different.
me desiring to watch the sequels. I feel like
Yeah,
the
no,
knowledge
that's
that
fair.
they get worse actually is kind of enough of a deterrent that I may just never touch it again. On the other hand, who
Yeah.
knows?
That one night you're gonna be high and think, how bad could Species 2
I mean,
actually be?
if I can look at Species knowing what I'm going in for and say, fuck it, how bad can it be? It's only a matter of time before I say it again. It's gonna keep happening. This is just how I am. But I'm not planning on doing it anytime soon.
No, it's super
There's
fair.
other bullshit for me to watch first. So my other ghoul, which is unlike any ghoul that I've ever gabbed in the past, is I just the other night, when well, actually, while I was supposed to be doing my fun facts and trivia reading for this podcast right here, I decided the background noise for while I was doing the reading should be the Nine Inch Nails Woodstock '94 performance.
Oh.
And I should have seen this coming. I didn't read a single thing because I was too busy watching the Nine Inch Nails Woodstock '94 performance.
Incredibly Tim-coded behavior, to be honest with you.
100%. The Tim genes are strong, and I've got all of them. The show's fucking incredible. It's an incredible and absurdly intense performance. Unfortunately, kind of ruined by having an embarrassingly bad mix. But recordings of live performances often are just kind
frankly,
of like
what are you going to
that.
do when the band and the audience are destroying your sound equipment as you record?
And that does happen midway through the set. Yeah, it's toward the end and stuff, but Trent really does just take a mic stand and destroy his keyboard for some reason. He was going through some shit at the time, as it turns out. So after I got all the way through the whole thing, because I was just like glued to it just about, after I watched the entire like hour and 15 minutes of it, I'm like, man, Trent really seemed like he was going through some shit. I wonder if he's talked about that. Of course he has. So then I go down this like just Nine Inch Nails Wikipedia page rabbit hole where I'm reading about his legal disputes with various corporations, mostly his own record label for the time that he was stuck on it. Tell you what, this man has never shut up about wanting people to pirate his music. The moment you could put music on the internet, he was putting his music on the internet, and he was saying, hey, everybody come download this shit. Every time, like literally as you read through it, every time that he released an album, there's a section in the Wikipedia page that says almost immediately the album got leaked to a torrent site, and the torrent has been generally attributed to Trent Reznor himself.
I love that.
Wow, king shit.
Because he just would not
he used
shut
to
up
release
about how he hated his record label and how he hated how much they were charging for copies of his CDs and shit, and he just wanted people to listen to his music.
God, he's so mean.
I love
He used to
him.
release
I
the
love this man
stems
so
for all
much.
his tracks on his website.
I remember that.
Like
I
the
think
stem
he still
tracks,
does
which
it.
for non-musicians, that's like the individually recorded tracks that make the album up. You can do
tell
anything with
there's
those.
some really slappy, like closer remixes.
There's a
and
lot
stuff
of
out there.
very nice, very, very good remixes of Nine Inch Nails songs. Tell you what. And that's his favorite thing. That's why the live band is constantly like rotating out like members and stuff, because he considers the live Nine Inch Nails lineup to be like, he considers its entire purpose to be remixing his material. And
Which is
he
cool.
doesn't want to hear it the same way too many times, so it cycles through members because he just wants
Couldn't be me.
fresh people
I want
working
to.
on it.
I could listen to Terrible Lie on repeat for 24 hours and not lose it.
That's because you didn't make it, though.
That's no so true. I can only every time I read my book, I'm like, this needs to be different.
Before we
Okay.
transition to the episode,
Right.
I have one quick ghoul to gab today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Outside of my I watched half a movie in a bar ghoul, there's a movie Nina did not mention that we watched over the last
I did
week.
deliberately skip over it.
Immediately after watching Predator, I said, Nina, we have to watch Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
Firstly, I used to like this movie well enough. I think I remember liking its sequel more, but it is not good.
You have never
right?
spoken well of AVP Requiem. I remember when
God,
you watched it
no.
the first time and
Oh,
you
no.
said that you hated it. Also, worth mentioning, I saw the first AVP at the same time that you did, and I have only ever remembered it being dog shit.
I remembered it being bad, but I didn't remember it being as bad as this was. All right? So, oh man.
It's just so bad. Emma, have you seen AVP?
I have.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah,
So you know.
Firstly,
Yeah.
we get one of the Wayland billionaires in here of Wayland Yutani in the Alien universe,
Right.
because God forbid there's an Alien storyline that one of the top members of the company doesn't directly die in.
Right.
Firstly. Secondly, We get the Mary Sue of Mary Sues.
This is the only character I've been comfortable referring to with my whole chest as a Mary Sue. She is literally pulled out of a fanfic levels of like just the specialist ever, and the only one who can to the predator can look him in the eyes and say, "This isn't you. You're better than this. Please."
But yeah, I don't know where there was any good memory of this movie in my mind, but it did exist at some point. But hoo boy, this was hilarious to watch with Nina next to me, shitting herself with rage.
I was so pissed. That's why I didn't talk about it. It's because it's
just not good.
And with that in mind, before we transition to the main episode, I also watched Moonfall. I've been doing a movie night with one of my friends, and it was
did it
Moonfall.
fall?
Moonfall down,
Moonfall
Mr.
down?
Bond.
Oh my god. Somebody catch her?
No.
God.
There's a lot going on in that movie that I can't even talk about because I do want Noah to witness it firsthand. There are things that I was not told would be in that movie that were.
Like the moon falling down.
That was the only thing I expected from this movie.
That's the only thing
and I
know
got
about it,
so
actually.
much more. So don't watch Moonfall. This is my official warning to you all. If you watch Moonfall, you'll regret it.
Unless your name is Noah, in which case you have to watch it.
You have to watch it because you made me watch Alien versus Predator, and it's
Oh, it's revenge.
Of events.
Event Horizon. I barely know her.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Casual Obsession, the horror movie podcast where we talk about horror movies. I am your host, Noah, and with me today are all the other hosts like Emma.
Hi.
Jeff.
Heidi ho.
Nina.
Hello.
And the rest. Now, we're really happy to have you here for the Event Horizon episode. 1997, Paul W.S. Anderson's Event Horizon. Second movie that he made after Mortal Kombat. They made enough money in Mortal Kombat that they're like, yeah, make your freak movie. Go off and do it. And then Titanic was taking too long to come out, and they're like, cut down your freak movie. Give us a movie for the summer blockbuster.
Yeah, they made him release it like 2
out.
months earlier than he wanted to release it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
this movie has a lot of trivia that breaks my fucking heart.
It's
like
sad.
The
It's
fact
so
that this
sad.
was their placeholder until fucking Titanic came out because Cameron was taking too long and they wouldn't rush Cameron. So they're like, Paul, chop chop, buddy, we gotta get this movie out. You know, your space freak movie, yeah, whatever, get it out there. The blood orgy, remove, please. Get all your weird stuff out. Make this marketable. And it's Event Horizon. Now, real quick, I'm gonna hit us with the spoiler free so I can roll right into my next bit, the ratings, because we got a lot today. And I'm sure Jeff has mountains of trivia because this movie has so much trivia.
There is
Not
so
even
much
just the
trivia that I don't even have that the amount I have feels like vanishingly small for as much as it still is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Go.
Okay. The Event Horizon, a ship made to explore the possibility of faster than light travel, reappears after being reported destroyed 7 years ago. A rescue team, along with the Event Horizon gravity drive designer, Dr. Weir, board the ship to ascertain what happened to the crew and whether or not the ship was successful in its journey. That's the big, broad strokes about what Event Horizon's about. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. This is not a beloved movie. I may sound very excited to talk about it
It's
because
got this like cult following, but it got
I've got,
shit
like,
canned so hard. when it
good
came
feelings
out.
toward it
wow.
because
She is very beautiful to me.
so what many people in the Warhammer 40K community consider this to be an unofficial prequel to the Warhammer universe because the grav drive works the same as the Warhammer grav drives and the warp travel. Dead Space fans will watch this and realize, oh, this definitely inspired some Dead Space.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
However, you know what didn't exist in 97? Dead Space,
Space.
and Warhammer fans who were comfortable seeing the light of day. So
So it didn't do well at the theaters.
it unfortunately did lose money at the box office. Yeah, $60 million budget for creation, I want to say. $41 million gross.
Yeah,
So,
I have
a
the
bit of a
numbers
flop.
somewhere. Oh yeah, 60 to 42.
Yeah, 42, my bad, not 41. But yeah, the ratings here, IMDb has been bumped up from the cult following. I think I'll say that very
Sure.
comfortably with a 6.6 out of 10, which matches the Letterboxd score of 3.3 out of 5. But I think the more realistic numbers we're clocking in here are the 34% from Rotten Tomatoes, 35% from Metacritic. Those are much more accurate
Yeah.
of the era things. But you know what else is from the era? The one, the only Roger Ebert himself
Hey, let's
reviewing
go.
Event Horizon
Hell
with
yeah.
a thumbs up 2 out of 4.
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah. Event Horizon opens with a lot of class. It has the detailed space vessels moving majestically against the background of stars. It has the deep rumble of the powerful drives. It has sets displaying persuasive technology, and it even has those barely audible, squeaky, chattering, voice-like noises that we remember from 2001: A Space Odyssey,
Yeah.
which give you the creepy feeling those little aliens are talking about you. I love movies like this. I got up and moved closer to the screen, volunteering to be drawn in. I appreciated the anachronistic details. Everyone on board the rescue ship smokes, for example, which is unlikely in 2047 on a deep space mission where, later, the CO2 air scrubbers will play a crucial role. And the captain, Lawrence Fishburne, wears a leather bomber jacket, indicating that J. Peterman is still in business a half a century from now. I liked all that stuff, but there wasn't much substance beneath it. It is observed darkly at one point that the gravity drive is a case of man pushing too far into the realms he should not go. There's an accusation that someone has broken the laws of physics, and from the way it's said, you'd assume the offenders were subject to fines or imprisonment. Of course, there are no laws of physics, only observations about the way things seem to be. When you break, if you break anything, it's not a law, but simply an obsolete belief now replaced by one that works better. Deeply buried in Event Horizon is a suspicion of knowledge. Maybe that's why its characters have so little of it.
Oh,
Ooh.
Roger.
Dang,
Oh.
burn.
Good shit, Ebert. And you are correct. This movie has some of the dumbest characters in a sci-fi, and I love them.
So
They just hate their
this
jobs.
is like
Leave them alone.
They aren't, but they aren't. They're no alien hate their jobsers. These
So
are
true.
These are.
I would recommend reading the rest of Ebert's review. There's maybe like 3 or 4 more paragraphs to it.
Oh, sure.
But he speaks very favorably about it while also recommending other sci-fi movies he thinks are far better and do
Sure.
a similar thing.
Yeah.
But I know what you're all thinking.
I know what I'm
Noah,
thinking.
Robert's cool and all. You know, the Ebster, we
Who's
love
Robert?
him, but he's so...
It's a
Roger.
portmanteau. He's been possessed.
He's Roger.
Roger, you know, like I said the first time. Roger, you know.
Right.
Wormodynamics.
Old
Sure.
Wormo
And then
Ebert.
Roger Ebert said wormodynamics. Wormholo, maybe. Haha, this is the part where Noah tries to make a funny joke about the
And then
established
he
good
reads
joke.
Twitter
and then
Brandon.
he
You could have just
like
said
tanks it.
wormhole dynamics and then.
Fucking hell.
Aw.
Isn't that what I said?
No.
No?
You said wormholo or some bullshit like that.
Fuck.
Okay, Twitter Brandon.
Twitter Brandon watched this movie.
Oh, Brandon. Cool. What's he say about this?
Twitter
I
Brandon.
think he's gonna love it.
You're right. There is a clearly better, more expansive movie on the cutting room floor, but what exists is pretty fucking great. PWSA's ambitions. What?
PWSA. Paul W.
WSA. Yeah. Okay. My bad. Ambitions not seeing their full potential hurts because he's one of the few guys that can make schlock like this look polished and gorgeous. It's really quite something what he managed to get out, though. The Hellraiser and space comps are valid but easy. This is something richer in mind, a terrifying possibility of what awaits us in the afterlife. Our ambitions can take us to the furthest reaches of the universe, searching for new frontiers and escapes, but the inevitability of what exists on the other side of death is always going to hang over us. This and Prince of Darkness seem to posit the belief that there is something greater, be it God in heaven or humanity inhabiting distant galaxies, is a fool's errand. The only thing waiting on the other side is hell itself. If you got any sort of faith, it's enough to fuck you with your head and heart for days. Also, genuinely unsettling, with an all-timer Sam Neill going bananas performance. This rocks.
He does go bananas.
But all that being said, all that Twitter Brandon talk, all that Roger Ebert talk, my rating clocks in it as a 10 out of 10. I really like this movie. The first time I saw it, I'm like, this is a 10. The second time I saw it, I was pretty high and I missed some of my favorite points. And I'm like, oh no, does this movie actually suck? Did I trick myself into liking it? But now that I watched it again, it's a 10 out of 10 again. I really have a lot of fun with what the movie has, and it really bums me out knowing that there are 40 minutes of movie that were removed that are lost forever and will never be recovered because they have been destroyed.
Yeah. Well, and the worst part is that like that destruction happened by accident. They were going to make the extended cut of it several years later after its like popularity had come up with the home video market and whatnot. And then when they went to check it out, the tape reels had been like stored improperly and they degraded and could not be used.
Oh wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically,
in my heart,
anytime that anything bad is happening in this movie, imagine that scene just being bigger, longer, and worse. That's what the movie was supposed to be. There was supposed to be a lot more backstory for certain of the characters and that kind of thing, which is why it feels like it's got a bunch of scenes cut out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a part of me that really hopes that there's going to be like a Doctor Who situation where some executive producer got sent a finished copy of the Blood Orgy edition of Event Horizon. And it's just sitting like in a box somewhere, like this shitty VHS copy of the movie. And that there's a world that could somehow bring it back,
God,
even
cool
though I
would it
know
be
that's not
if
how
we
it
could
would
see
be.
the shitty VHS version of the Blood Orgy edition of Event Horizon. Like, I don't even want it in pristine quality. I want an old ass VHS.
I want it shitty.
Yeah,
I would watch that in a heartbeat.
absolutely.
But yeah, what about y'all? What was your general takeaway from this very polarizing movie?
I'm in love with what this movie could have been. I'll absolutely admit. When we watched it the first time, back when we lived in the old apartment, I went through the Tumblr tag for this one, and I found GIFs of some of the scenes that are really quick flashes in the movie, and I picked those apart to find the frames that show the special effects and the gore and just hold on it because it's so visceral. Okay, I think I figured out what I was going to say about Brandon's thing. It's mostly just that I don't think that it fucks with the faith part of me, because I think something that I really enjoy about this movie's interpretation of hell, and it doesn't negate the idea of good things existing, and that's part of what makes it so scary. It's not like, oh, the only thing waiting for us is potentially just hell. It's that some people are deprived of the good things because of someone else's attempts to reach those good things and getting too overzealous.
Ooh.
So that's kind of how I read it. So I don't think that there are things that fuck with me in the way that Brandon describes in his review that like are like, oh fuck, what if there's nothing waiting for us? This movie is almost worse than that. But in a good way. So I agree with Brandon. I also have a different read on it, I guess, is where I'm going with it.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
10 out of 10 for me, though. Love this movie. I love the entity that is... I love entities, you know this about me.
Sure.
And I love Event Horizon as this kind of infected by evil thing in a very scientific, like, Lovecraftian sort of way. I love it. I love the concept. I wish Paul had gotten to explore it more.
Yeah.
And
Honestly, there's almost a part of me that's glad that he didn't, because the promise of a full amazing movie is maybe better than
Potentially better than what he would have actually given
respectfully.
us, sure.
You never know.
It's that thing where it's like what's in your head is so much better than what he ever could have possibly actually made. The version of this movie that exists in my head is perfect. And so this movie is a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. And like I'm glad that you pointed out it being Lovecraftish before I did, because I would hate to be the only one saying something like that. But like it really is, isn't it? The idea that like this inanimate object went to a place and came back wrong for some reason, and you don't know what's going on in that place where it was. You just know that it's bad enough an inanimate object came back evil.
I love Come Back Wrong is always a fun one, the classic Pet Sematary.
Oh, sure.
But literally through the watching of this, I'm like, oh, this is just another Come Back Wrong movie. I don't know why this is the first time I had that revelation, right? But I'm glad you said that, because I didn't want to say it and have everyone like make me explain why I felt like the ship coming back wrong counted.
Well, because
we're all on the same page.
Happened,
Or we're three on the same page. I'm excited to hear our mistake.
This is a hard movie for me to attach a number to.
Yeah, sure.
Watching it, especially at the beginning, I was really blown away by like the practical effects and the sets.
The visuals in the camera work are fucking stunning, and I've got plenty of trivia about that as well.
As you're first kind of seeing the cockpit and everybody sitting down, like talking to each other and interacting with the set and doing stuff, I just couldn't help but think, man, that would be like so cool to like shoot in,
right?
And
real knobs and switches.
Yeah, and it was just cool to see. All of the sets are amazing. I feel like all the actors do a good job.
Yeah,
but like watching the movie, the story just didn't grab me.
The movie itself is lacking, to be sure.
Yeah, watching it, I definitely was on the side of like, oh, this kind of gives me like Hellraiser and space vibes.
Totally.
And like that was neat. Everything they did, I think they did well. It's just
they didn't do enough of it.
I wasn't grabbed.
Right.
And hearing that there were like 40 extra minutes that were cut.
Yeah. It was supposed to be like 2 hours and 15.
Yeah, that probably would have helped things. But it was a cool movie. It was cool to watch. I don't know that I would necessarily watch it like again.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, maybe I might give it like a 6.5 or a 7. Okay. I don't really know.
Yeah. Honestly, that's about what I figured you would come in at, because there's a lot of fun stuff to look at in this movie. The miniature work that they do, the practical building blocks of all of the ship parts. Actually, I got some trivia about the ship too. But there's a lot of stuff like that.
That's a piece of art.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, you got no fucking idea.
None.
Okay, so let me tell you about something here. Let me tell you about a cool little thing called a computer, which I find indispensable.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
They did a full computer digital model of Notre Dame, and then they cut it apart and put it back together as the Event Horizon.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
The insides, all that shit, like, especially in the grav drive room, everything that they wanted to invoke any sort of anything from, it's because they took a 3D model of the goddamn cathedral, cut it apart, and put it back together.
Hey, Paul, if you're listening,
it's a basilica.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If you're listening,
of the
Paul,
goddamn basilica.
Paul, if you're listening, what the fuck happened to you? I've seen a lot of your movies. How did we go from Event Horizon to the Resident Evil movies, Paul?
Well, before Event Horizon, Alien versus Predator. So
I would accept
also, Alien versus Predator.
The question is, where did Event Horizon come from?
Right. No, because I would accept going from Mortal Kombat, a video game like franchise movie thing, to this big wild original sci-fi horror. Like I would accept that.
Okay, you got no idea here. The writer for Event Horizon has written nothing else good. Nothing
That's
else that is very well
So
acclaimed.
wild.
I'm curious.
Right?
Okay.
I fully believe
But
that the
the
Event Horizon herself possessed these people to make
The
this movie.
cinematographer of this movie is the guy that did The Princess Bride
Oh. Well, that's
That's
Okay,
great.
now that I'll buy.
Okay.
That I'll
Yeah,
buy.
Sure.
and Aliens.
Okay,
and
but
V
like,
for Vendetta
I-
and a lot of the Mummy movies.
I watched a part of a making of thing for Event
Mm-hmm.
Horizon where Paul W.S. Anderson was talking a lot about the process of making everything and like where
Mm-hmm.
ideas for certain pieces of set design came from and stuff like that. There's I know we haven't gotten to the spoiler synopsis yet, but this isn't a super spoiler. You'll note there's a lot of objects on the spaceships everywhere, and especially on the Event Horizon specifically, that are like circular. Rooms will be built around circular structures, tables will be circles, doorways and hallways will be circular. And he was talking all about the amount of intention that he put into that as a piece of visual design because of themes in the plot that he felt kind of ran in a circular manner, that the crew would feel as though they were not really getting anywhere, that they were going in circles, as it were. Also as a reference to like the black hole at the center of the grav drive and all of this. He was talking all about like the amount of connections that he wanted the visual design to be making to those thematic ideas. But then also this is the guy who made Mortal Kombat.
Not just Mortal Kombat.
Not just Mortal Kombat, but AVP.
Alien versus Predator.
And the Resident Evil
Alien
movies.
versus Predator.
This is that guy.
Resident Evil movies, the Death Race movies.
Oh shit, he did
the
Death
Three
Race too?
Musketeer movie from 2011.
Oh shit, yeah. Yeah.
The Monster Hunter movie.
And that's the amount of thought that he put into this. I want to hear him
Yeah.
talk about all those other projects and see if he was putting this much thought into those as well. But like it feels like
Okay.
the good stuff of this wasn't despite him, you know? Like it was
Okay, I'm not gonna accuse Mila Jovovich of having the opposite effect on him that Kate Siegel had on on Mike Flanagan.
Oh no.
But I really feel like there's like a spectrum of wife guys that like Rob Zombie and Mike and Paul all live on.
Oh. Okay.
And
Mike on one
I
end,
think
Paul on the other end, and Rob
Paul on the other
squarely
and
in
Rob's
the
like
center.
right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think because he met Mila on the set of the first Resi movie.
Oh.
And I think you could have done the Resi movies as a trilogy and done the plot just fine. But I think he just wanted to see her in as many outfits, killing as many zombies as possible. And I do respect him a little bit for that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I also got to see his wife in those outfits killing those zombies.
Everybody wins.
Go off.
She's also in outfits in the Monster Hunter movie.
Hey.
Oh my god, that is her on the cover, isn't it?
I know.
Oh my God.
Who else but my wife?
Paul, we know you're listening, so if you want to come on and talk about your projects, we'd love to have
Honestly, Noah's your biggest fan,
I
I,
will-
think.
you. Yeah.
You would think by how many movies of his
Okay,
we
so
watched.
here's my problem, right? As much as I don't like a lot of the Resident Evil stuff, I'm starting to get what he's doing. It's starting like Paul W.S. Anderson is starting to click for me, and I don't know how
I don't
feel
like it.
about that.
I hate it.
I'm not gonna
You-
watch more of his stuff, but I don't think I'm ready to dub him like my enemy.
Oh, sure.
I think he's just
No.
a guy that's there.
He's just a guy, yeah.
I do want to watch
We
the
are
Death Race
in
movies.
a Paul W.S. Anderson and I are in this kind of torrid love affair, I think.
Would you say that you're destined to dance around one another forever?
It's giving I think Charles Dickens and one of the other writers from the time where like
Hans
they
Christian
respected each
Andersen?
other as people. Potentially. There's just this like, who are you? What are you doing? All right. Anyway, let's talk about the good movie that he made, please.
Yeah.
All right.
I've got one more piece of non-spoiler trivia before we hit this. Paul W.S.
Okay.
Anderson, director, had his 31st birthday while they were shooting.
Happy birthday,
Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Everyone give a round of applause for Paul. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Woohoo.
go Paul, go. Yeah.
Can I, off topic, say something about Wikipedia? I Googled an actor's age the other day, and they told me that he was about 37 or 47 or something. I'm
Do we
like,
not
what
know?
does that mean?
Is it?
His birthday's on the 30th, and they were just rounding up.
Oh, well, okay.
That's
okay.
stupid. Tell me
Well,
how old he is now. What do you
yeah, like,
fucking
just-
mean?
I'm dumb as shit. I literally tabbed over to the Event Horizon wiki trying to find Paul's birthday.
Are you good?
I mean, it's
yeah.
easy to find out.
58.
Yeah. It's probably today.
It's the 4th of
It-
March.
Which
Oh.
is basically
1965.
today.
He's the same
if
age
you're-
as my mom.
Basically today.
Holy shit.
He's old as shit. Damn.
Yeah. Oldest person I've ever heard of, apart from my mom.
my parents are older.
Well, I've never heard of
Get
him.
dunked on Emma's old parents.
Get wrecked. Yeah, so do we have any like content warnings or anything for this
Oh,
movie?
boy,
that
howdy
wanna
do
talk
we.
about?
So, I think there's a lot of bodily mutilation in this.
There is.
If you think about like what you remember from Hellraiser, right?
Spanking.
And it's just it's still that's about there. You know, bodily mutilation is there. There's a lot of gore. Specifically, there is some eye stuff too. As we talked about, the ship came back wrong. It do be haunted as fuck.
Most haunted that any spaceship has ever been, probably.
Due to the
I would go
hauntingness,
as far to say.
probably, frankly. And due to the hauntingness of the ship, there's a lot of loss of sanity stuff going on, if that's something that you're like not super comfortable with. And Twitter Brandon was not joking when he was talking about the genuinely upsetting Sam Neill performance just going absolutely bananas.
He does go
Yeah.
bananas.
Because he goes from being a generally semi-unstable guy to where we're going, we don't need eyes.
Yeah.
You know? But also there is suicide in this one. There is a suicide shown on screen in one of Sam Neill's flashbacks because the man worked so hard that his wife,
Yeah.
so bad home life there, Dr. Weir. That's definitely didn't help him on his trip to the Event Horizon. I'm going to be brave and say it.
Likely not,
Mhm.
perhaps.
Yeah.
I think that's all we got for content. Is there anything else that you guys would worry about?
There's
No.
a child who doesn't really do anything, isn't shown having things done to him, but he is present and scary, and he's got some things wrong with him. Briefly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the crewmates, her kid
wearing-
has a birthday while they're gone, and you see a video of him in a wheelchair, and then you also see him later.
Yeah, like a hallucination of him with like
Yeah.
a bunch of weird shit happening to his legs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Probably
He's got
explains
that.
more.
He's wearing that uncanny valley makeup too. That
Mhm.
trend you see on TikTok right now.
I have not seen that because I am not on TikTok right
yes, I'm very familiar. But to
Oh.
the audience who doesn't know,
Nina,
please
where
tell
are
me.
you?
Yeah, Nina's
I
just
need
like,
you.
I'm fucking off. I don't need to hear about
See ya.
the spoiler review.
That was just a joke.
Yeah.
He's not wearing uncanny valley makeup. I lied.
now.
Honestly, Emma, I'm going to say it. It's really scary that you lied to us like that.
Oh, really? How scary was it?
I would call it a 10
I
out
can't
of
be the
10.
one to say that.
Scary rating for this movie. There's a lot of practical effects. There's a lot of fire. There's body horror stuff, but it's not like the scariest body horror I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I feel like looking at it, my brain is like, yeah, that's fake. So it doesn't like hit me super hard. But there's some creepiness. If you don't like body horror and you get freaked out by that sort of thing, be aware. But for me, this was like maybe like a 2 or a 3 out of 10 scary.
Sure.
Maybe like 2.5.
A lot of the scariest points are during the really quick flash scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really doesn't
You know,
let
people
itself
crucified with barbed wire,
linger
stuff like
on
that.
any of the fucked up stuff, really, because of the cut.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of the implication.
Because-
Maybe if we had those 40 extra minutes of torture scenes, it would have been scarier.
The director described it as having been actually pretty distressing to watch. So
Maybe.
I think
I
it would have
would be the
gotten
judge of that,
someplace, but
Paul W.
we'll
S.
never
Anderson.
know.
We'll never know.
Speaking of things being distressing, really quick, another off-topic thing.
Oh.
I've heard that James Wan had to leave the room during the ending of Saw because he couldn't take Lee Winnell screaming like that because they were best friends, and it made him really sad.
Aw.
Aww.
And then
So,
he said,
fun
you know what we
facts.
should do is we should have that screaming run into the credits without any music.
Yeah.
Every Saw movie after that, he's like, nah, fuck that. I'm fixing it, and I'm just shoving Zepp's theme into the end of every Saw movie now.
I think it's that, if it affected him that much, he can only hope that it affects the audience the same
Right.
way.
Huh.
I'm gonna hit you with the spoiler synopses.
All right.
More
More than
perfect.
one.
I
Holy
did
shit.
not. I did not write it up myself. This is off of Wikipedia. The Wikipedia. In 2047, a distress signal is received from the Event Horizon, a starship that disappeared during its maiden voyage to Proxima Centauri 7 years earlier. The ship mysteriously reappears in a decaying orbit around Neptune, and the rescue vessel, Lewis and Clark, is dispatched to investigate. Its crew, Captain Miller, second... Oh my god. It gives me all the names? I don't know why I was surprised about this. I'm sorry. Second
only
in command,
8 people in
Lieutenant
the
Stark,
movie.
Pilot Smith, Medical Technician Peters, Engineer Ensign Justin, and Dr. DJ. And Rescue Technician Cooper is joined by Dr. William Weir. Stop laughing at me. I know
Dr.
you're
DJ
laughing
was
at
my
me and not
nickname in
with
high
me.
school.
Dr. Weir, the Event Horizon's designer. He briefs them on the ship's experimental gravity drive with a simple visualization of how it folds space-time. Then shows them the distress signal, which consists of a series of screams and howls. But DJ believes he heard the Latin phrase, liberate me, save me. Upon boarding the Event Horizon, the crew finds evidence of a massacre. As they search for survivors, the ship's gravity drive activates and briefly pulls Justin into a portal while also causing a shockwave that damages the Lewis and Clark. The crew are all forced aboard the Event Horizon while Justin emerges in a catatonic state. He attempts suicide by decompression, but is saved by Miller, forcing the crew to place Justin in stasis, which is how they travel around in space. Smith and Cooper are sent on a spacewalk to repair the hull of the Lewis and Clark. The crew then begin having hallucinations corresponding to their fears and regrets. Miller sees a subordinate he was forced to abandon to his death. Peter sees her son with his legs covered in bloody lesions. Weir sees an eyeless version of his late wife urging him to join her. I feel like there's a thing that they do not mention, by the way, in this, and it is that Weir saw visions of his wife before they got to the Event Horizon.
Yeah.
He was already doing poorly before they got here, and it only got worse upon landing on the ship.
And also he is consistently shown shaving with the same straight razor that she used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this man is not well.
These are not the
An
actions of
unhealthy
a
fellow.
healthy man.
Let's see. They end up discovering a video log of the Event Horizon's crew fornicating and mutilating each other shortly after first engaging the gravity drive. The log ends with a shot of the Event Horizon's captain holding his own eyes gouged from their sockets and speaking the Latin phrase heard earlier. However, the true complete phrase is liberate te termite ex infernus. Save yourself from hell. Weir explains the ship's drive opened a gateway to a hellish dimension outside the known universe, and that the Event Horizon has attained sentience. You know, once again, just the idea that you get far enough away from home that even the ship goes crazy and comes back
Right.
is really nice. Miller decides to destroy the Event Horizon and orders an evacuation, while Peters is lured to her death by a hallucination of her son. Weir, who has gouged out his own eyes, is possessed by the evil presence and uses an explosive device to destroy the Lewis and Clark, killing Smith and blasting Cooper off into space. Weir kills DJ by vivisecting him and corners Stark on the bridge. Miller confronts Weir, who overpowers him and initiates a 10-minute countdown to activate the gravity drive and return to the other dimension. Cooper uses his spacesuit's oxygen supply to propel himself back to the ship and appears at the bridge window, where Weir shoots at him, shattering the window and blowing himself out into space during the decompression. Miller, Stark, and Cooper survive and manage to seal off the ship's bridge. With their own ship destroyed, they plan on splitting the event horizon in two with explosives and use the forward section as a lifeboat. This is something they talked about earlier in the movie. There's the forward section of the ship, big long neck, engines is basically how it's set up, and the entire neck of the ship is set up with bombs to separate it just in case something bad happens.
The way it's put together is not super different from like a Klingon bird of prey.
Mm-hmm.
Just with like an extra long neck.
Yeah. For all the Star Trek fans
for the
out
Star
there.
Trek
If you're not a
fans.
Star Trek fan, leave us
forget
alone.
I said anything, I guess.
Yeah. While Miller is setting up the bombs, he's attacked by a hallucination, which turns out to be the resurrected and further mutilated Weir. Miller fights him off and detonates the explosions, sacrificing himself. The gravity drive activates, pulling the ship's stern section into the black hole. But Stark and Cooper enter stasis compartments next to Justin and wait to be rescued. 72 days later, the wreckage of the event horizon is boarded by a rescue party who discover the survivors in stasis. Stark sees Weir posing as one of the rescuers and screams in terror, but wakes up and realizes it was all a nightmare. Cooper and the rescue team try to calm her down as the door closes on the movie, and we get the most Resident Evil soundtrack for the closing credits. That's Event Horizon.
That sure is Event Horizon.
Once again, I really enjoy a lot of what this movie does. It's not just because it is a clear, heavy influence on Dead Space, which is, like, I think safe to say maybe my favorite horror game of all time. But it's also just, there's a lot of really fun world around this that just kind of, it was Neptune.
Yeah. Neptune's
and
a
I
very
love
fun
Neptune.
world.
You know, there was a lot. So true. But I don't know. There's a lot to like in this movie. There's a lot of lore to infer from the movie. And I'm kind of glad that I'm glad we never got a sequel. I'm glad we never got anything like that, because frankly, I don't know if I would want a sequel to this movie. I feel like it would probably
have ruined it.
Really
this
bad.
This movie thrives on the fact that we never see the other dimension for ourselves along with the characters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It thrives on the fact that we're seeing into a window of what happened. I am so glad we never get to actually full on linger on that stuff. The fact that they only do those flashy cuts of stuff is so important. Because it really gives your mind time to run wild with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that as far as effectively using what it has, Event Horizon does a good job. I wish that we had gotten... Maybe it's just Mr. Flanagan infecting me. I wish we'd gotten more positing about things a little bit, like more time to like hear the characters' thoughts on what's going on instead of the same kind of, all the characters are very action oriented. They're like, what are we going to do next? Where are we going to go next? I'm not going to stay here. I don't feel good about this. And it's like, can you get into why a little bit? Maybe I would appreciate that, especially when they start having these hallucinations. A lot of them are really vague about, until Lawrence Fishburne's character, a lot of them are very vague about why the things that they are seeing are making them so uncomfortable. But yeah.
And that would very squarely, from what I gather, actually have gotten wrapped up by including a bunch of the missing footage, because one of the things that I do know was in there was that Dr. DJ actually was supposed to have a bunch of backstory established about how, like, you know, when Weir goes to vivisect him, he like rips his shirt off and he's got that giant ass scar running down his torso. And that's never like remarked upon. It's not explained or anything. He has this backstory where he was like really sick as a child and had to have a bunch of surgeries. And being a child, he was really, really kind of fucked up by that, and went through the entire rest of his life with this massive, horrible fear of getting vivisected. So then when that's the thing that Weir chooses to do to him, to torment him,
It's so
supposed to hit-
personal.
Yeah, right?
Like, I
And it's
wanted
supposed
to
to
know
hit
that.
so much more. And it feels to me like it wouldn't have been too difficult to put that into this cut of the movie, even without the blood orgy scenes and whatnot. But I think a lot of that comes down to, obviously, studio interference. The whole reason that this movie is the way that it is, got released when it did, everything, because they wanted a summer blockbuster, and Paul W.S. Anderson gave them a movie that was difficult to watch. So they chopped too much out of it to eliminate that, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very,
that
very
would have
sad.
made it. That's part of the thing is like, I was reading a Tumblr post that was talking about how the event horizon, even before it goes to this other dimension, is kind of doomed by Weir, because he worked like a man possessed while designing it. He neglected his wife to the point of suicide in her case. Like, this is a story, they compared it to like Hill House,
Sure.
of like even the construction of this thing was affected by something, and whether or not that it was inherently tied to this godless dimension before it was even made, and something was influencing Weir to make it like that. Like, there's so much stuff that it's like Weir could have been this really interesting character that he wasn't necessarily, and the way that he connects to the crew who don't particularly like him because he's not part of their crew.
Yeah.
Like, and he gets into their heads just enough, or the ship gets into their heads just enough, where now he's able to do these intimate things to them that they never wanted him to know and never would have told him. It's like, there's so many things they could have done.
Right? And I wonder if there's anything about this in the extended cut, but watching it this time, I was kind of thinking the entire time, you know what? Even from the beginning, I think Weir knows exactly what they're headed into.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they get there, he is so angry that they don't let him get onto the ship and go straight to the engine core himself. And then when they talk about the bad shit that very obviously happened there, he is so insistent that it's perfectly safe and blah, blah, blah. When, of course, any scientist worth his salt would be like, obviously, since this thing disappeared and was completely unaccounted for 7 whole ass years, something went wrong, and there's something going on here that could be a little dangerous. But he's just
Damn, I wonder, is it his
insistent.
experimental technology?
Right?
Or is it the ship?
But
a tested science.
Yeah, but he's so insistent that it couldn't possibly have been the thing that he made. Something else must have gone wrong. It couldn't be that. And you should let me go turn it on to prove it right now. Like, I think he knows exactly what they're going into, and he's cool with it because it's him getting closer to his wife again.
I think, to me, it reads as he doesn't know what they're going into, but he really wants to, and he's wanted to know what this thing was capable of the whole time, and he didn't think he'd ever have the chance to reconnect with it because there was some part of him that knew that activating it would send it somewhere that he couldn't follow. But now it's back, and he actually has a chance to see where it went and what happened, and that's not something he necessarily thought he'd get to see. So maybe everything that happened to his wife is worth it if he can get in there and see what happened.
Other movies worth comparing this to is The Void from 2016. I think the main guy from The Void is an awful lot like Weir.
I'll pull that and add it to our stack of movies we gotta watch soon.
Okay,
absolutely. I think we should cover it on the podcast sometime. Personally, I kind of love it.
We should. We really, really should.
Also, it's happening again. Additional reference to the number 13. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you guys caught this. When they pull up to the event horizon on the Lewis and Clark and they are doing the little flyby getting ready to dock, you know which airlock they dock at.
Oh,
it's got a big ass Roman
this.
numeral 13 on it.
Because I think you were in the room when I saw it, and I said that's an additional reference to the number 13. I got really excited.
Fucking doomed from the start if number 13 is Alpha Airlock.
Yeah.
I mean,
why didn't they omit it? You would think that they would know better.
I do want to say, for world building's sake, it's dumb to name a singular ship the Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It makes way more sense to have two ships.
The Lewis,
one of them is Lewis,
Clark.
one of them is Clark.
I'm so there with you
Absolutely.
on that.
The Lewis and Clark is a terrible name for a spaceship.
It is.
Yeah.
And why would you even name it that if it's a rescue ship and not a pioneer ship?
Right? It's not
Yeah.
even
What
an
are
you
exploration
doing?
ship. The Event Horizon, they're doing black hole shit. It makes sense. The Lewis
It
and
makes
Clark,
sense.
they're doing search and rescue shit. It doesn't work.
Name it after
Mhm.
that fucking find a rescue dog. Any rescue dog. Balto.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
Like
Why not?
there you go.
I don't know
Why
much
are we
about the
Lewis and
history
Clark
of rescue dogs personally, but
To me, I think it would be good. Better than Lewis and
better
Clark.
than Lewis and Clark.
Mhm,
See,
mhm.
Washington and Idaho had it right when they named the two cities on either side of the river Lewiston and Clarkston. That's how you do it. They're two cities
Two
separated.
There's, like-
things, yeah.
There was like a famous dog, I think in like Alaska or something, that like saved somebody by delivering alcohol to them when they were stuck out in like the wilderness and were freezing cold, and like the alcohol helped like cool their body or whatever, or like warm up their body enough for people to get there and save them.
Huh.
That's exactly
And
who
I think
was
that
thinking
dog
of.
is like memorialized in the area or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and is like a relatively famous dog. Name the ship after the dog.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're gonna go to the detail that Sam Neill on Dr. Weir's coat, he's from
Yeah,
Australia,
yeah.
and his thought is, "Are you fucking kidding me? By 2047, they're not gonna be under English rule anymore." So he convinced the crew to make a new flag for Australia that did not have the Union
Yeah,
Jack on it.
They replaced it with the Aboriginal flag.
Yeah.
God, I love world building like that. I
And that's
also
Sam
love
Neill's
what
idea. Like,
Like, and if you're gonna do that, then why not do something other than Lewis and Clark?
well, and I love what Ebert mentioned about everyone smoking on board this ship, where we later learned that like CO2 scrubbing is an important thing that happens. I think that's
Mhm.
funny,
Right.
not just in a like anachronistic way, but also in a like humans are always going to do things that we know are bad for us and bad for the tech that we're around. Like I'm always going to eat chips in my computer, even though I know that's fucking up my keyboard. To me, very similar kind of situation.
Yeah.
One thing I really absolutely adore about this movie is as they're coming up on the event horizon and they can't see because they're in like a fucking space cloud bank.
yeah.
As they close in closer and closer.
Well, I think what it is they're
And-
just too damn close to Neptune. And
Yeah,
that's like
you know,
the
so they're
outer
catching a
reaches
lot of stray
Neptune's, like,
gases.
atmosphere.
But they suddenly emerge and they are way too close to the event horizon. And you see on the front of the ship, there's this gigantic fucking plaque that's like lit up that says event horizon. And they're like swerving to avoid the main body of the ship as they come in and everything. And that's such a good first view of the ship because you can tell
It's
it's a
huge.
practical model that they moved past because it looks so like tangible and there.
Mhm.
And it's massive. It's actually so big that it's hard to grasp how quickly they traverse the ship otherwise.
Yeah, that does become a little bit of an issue.
But it's like the ship has a presence to it. Maybe it's not as big as I think it is. Maybe it's actually a little bit smaller.
Well, but like
I don't want to think
it's
about
way bigger
that.
than the Lewis and Clark. Is the big
Yes,
thing that they're
by a
establishing with
lot.
that scene is that their ship feels like it's kind of big. Then they roll up on the event horizon and it's huge.
Mm-hmm. And it dominates the screen for just long enough to get a grasp of how big it is, and they still aren't close enough to hit it. They're still 500 meters out, and it's so goddamn big.
Uh-huh.
And I just really like that nameplate just sitting up there. It's really, really good.
It's very
Um,
BioShock.
It's very
It's very
BioShock, and
BioShock.
it's also very Dead Space.
Yeah.
Dead Space did a very strong homage to this. When you set foot on the Ishimura, there's a big ass lit up sign that says "Welcome to the Ishimura," and it like I love things that declare what they are,
Yeah.
and it's like, why is that there?
I
To
love
let you know.
I love that with this because the ship herself is such a personality. And I love knowing the Notre Dame thing, the combination of just the 90s, like it's so different from what we saw with Giger.
Oh yeah.
The combination of the grungy 90s like techno shit and the like kind of or like the curves and the spikes.
She's got curves.
The like gorgeous like architecture.
Yeah,
It's not
the
just like a
arches,
ship. It is a piece of
The
like
ship looks like a crucifix.
Yeah,
God,
it's
she's so
shaped like a
pretty.
crucifix. It's got all these cross-shaped windows and whatnot.
yes.
And the windows
Big
that
Boba
aren't
Fett
cross-shaped
mask.
have these weird like I don't know how to describe it, like vaulted window sills. I don't fucking know how to describe it. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about though, right? Where it's got that like slidey like chute coming down underneath the window. It's the one
Mhm.
that ends up with all the blood and the skulls and whatnot kind of decorating it. The
Mhm.
shape of
I
those windows
love
is
it.
so like cathedral-ish to me.
It's
Ah.
so pretty.
I love all of the
Goodness.
sets in this. And also, like we mentioned the Warhammer thing, all of the design of the ship feels incredibly Warhammer-ish to me. Especially like the grav drive core, the way that like it's the sphere with all the spikes on it and the whole room is full of the spikes. That all feels very like chaos specifically, but just very, very Warhammer. Also, I like the way they
Mhm.
have it in the like concentric rings that kind of I think kind of seem like they're invoking like the Ophanim from the Bible. The you know the
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the angels that
absolutely.
appear
The Ring
with
of Eyeballs, yeah.
the wheels covered in eyes, but in this
Ugh,
case it's
yeah.
covered in lights instead. And they say that it's for magnetic fields or whatever the hell, but like, come on, we all know the
yeah,
real
Weir
reason.
says everything is for magnetic
He says
reasons.
everything's about magnets. How do they even
He's
work?
like he knows fucking magnets. How do they work? Is how everyone feels about magnets. So he knows if he says it, everyone will
Oh,
just buy it.
Actually,
and
yeah,
I love
this is
him.
another character thing that I was noticing when I was watching it this time. Is he every time they're asking him questions about the science of this thing? Because from the moment that he says we were working on faster than light travel when we made this thing, everyone's like, "Oh, come on, you jackass, shut the fuck up." And they immediately start trying to grill him on the science, and what does he do? He tries to shrug it off. He tries to say, "Oh, you know, it's very complicated." And they're like, "We're smart." And he's like, well, it's
And
an
then
awful lot of
he
physics
decides
and
to use his
science.
big college
And
words.
yeah, and he eventually ends up breaking it down into layman's terms, where he takes that poster and like folds it and pokes a hole through it and stuff. But like, he tries so hard not to explain anything to them at all.
Mm-hmm. And they're all really pissed about that because
He's
every
annoying.
one of them. Well,
He's
not only is he
fucking
annoying,
annoying.
and he's kind of
He
like
is.
standoffish and weird. But all of them were on, from what we can tell,
Vacation.
this is the first leave that they had been on in a while. They should be on vacation for a while.
Yeah.
And they got all pulled back because they were one of the most successful rescue teams in the biz. So they got dragged into this.
Can I take it back to the architecture? for just a second?
Absolutely. Let's talk more about the architecture.
Okay, so I want to say something about how that plays in like the kind of dichotomy of the religious imagery and the like very gritty like 90s space.
Yeah.
Kind of shows up to me in a lot of the other ways that this movie does horror, and this combination of religious imagery and just like really gross gore. There's a lot of crucifixion like
Yeah.
allegory.
Absolutely.
My favorite, though, is how calm and ethereal and almost clean his wife looks. Weir's wife looks.
Relative to everything else. Yeah.
Her eyelessness is very bloodless.
Yes.
And very very clean and sterile.
Yeah.
And then when he's eyeless, it's puffy, it's
He's
swollen,
got
it's
scratches
gory,
all
it's
down his
messy.
face everywhere.
There's shit hanging.
And that's how it
like,
is with everyone else that this happens to as well. Yeah.
This like dichotomy of like of just this beauty and this disgustingness, and even the gross gory, the clips of the blood orgy that we do get, the flashes that we see in the warp drive.
Yeah.
There's always this kind of like otherworldly dreamlike quality to it that's really like it makes me want to look at it. It looks designed and artful, very similar to like the Cenobites. I always want to look at the Cenobites.
Yeah.
Whenever they're on
enticing.
screen, like drawing Pinhead was so fun, looking at where all of her like the symmetry of her body modifications and all of that. Like that's how I feel about Event Horizon too.
By the way, in a turn of event that will surprise nobody at all, Paul's a huge Ridley Scott fan,
Oh,
and this is
oh.
his blatant homage to Alien.
Yeah, the
Oh,
early
yeah,
scenes
no,
of this
no one's
movie
surprised.
love Alien so much.
I'm
To
glad
the
he wears it
point-
on his sleeve because otherwise it would be rude.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the point that many people think that it's a shameless ripoff of Alien, and I think that's like
Ah,
I can definitely see why people would think
Sure.
that. I don't think people are necessarily wrong to think that, but I do think it's like there's a lot of things like that I've found that I have a lot more tolerance for when I learn, oh, this was an intentional homage. House of a Thousand Corpses, Rob Zombie.
Sure.
I guarantee to you, when I watch it next, I'm going to enjoy it a lot more than I did the first time, knowing it's supposed to be an homage to Texas Chainsaw
Right.
rather than, quote, a shameless ripoff of Texas Chainsaw like I felt before.
Sure.
Looking at this movie next to Alien, I think something that's really important to acknowledge is that a lot of media can have the same structure, but use, especially when you're working with something as visceral as horror, use it in a very different way. Alien does not do psychological horror the way that Event Horizon does at all.
Very true.
Event Horizon is, again, it's so much more personal. Alien is like, oh, there's an alien on this ship. We don't know what it is. It's scary. It's terrifying. There's that same fear of space and the unknown that works so well. But Event Horizon is like, space knows me. I have no idea what's going on in space, but space knows everything about me. And that's so, so different from Alien that even if it's quote unquote a ripoff or whatever, it's doing something so new and different. I don't think I would watch them back to back and I would not give a shit. I'm not watching the same movie twice. It's something completely different and worth watching.
Yeah. Well, and to me, I feel like it's less ripping off and more a bit of a retread, yes, but it's doing it respectfully. And also, like, it's just, it has to go through a lot of the same things in order to get to where it's actually going. You know, it's just one of those, like, the path forks violently enough when it does that, like, I don't mind the early scenes doing a lot of the exact same things to establish characters and group dynamics and situations and people doing their jobs and all of this stuff, and even like the shit about capitalism, right? Because you've got the same exact situation where you've got a crew full of people getting sent off to perform a task that they haven't been told enough about, and then it turns out that they're getting fucked over by this corporation that just doesn't give a shit about them and wants to bring something back because it's dangerous. Like, it's entirely possible for multiple stories to do a lot of similar things on the way to that kind of a premise without one of them being ripping the other one off. I feel like it is different enough in the ways that it needs to be and aware of its own similarities, you know?
And I think also all of that, yes. And I think also, like, I think that when you like a story and you're inspired by it, I found this personally recently with writing Blood in the Water. It's like when you like a story and you enjoy where it went, and at some point during experiencing the story, you're like, I wouldn't have done it that way. There is a part of you that thinks, well, why can't I do it my way?
Yeah.
And at some point during Blood in the Water, I just let myself stop caring that I was doing Passengers 2016 my way.
Yeah.
And I just was like, no, this is different. This is me. This is what I want to do with this. And it's going to be very emotionally different, very like storytelling different. And I can like feel that with this, where it's like at some point you got to just be like, yeah, okay, you love Alien, I love Alien. Let's just both admit that we really love Alien so that we can take that love for Alien and apply it to the same like parts of this movie.
Yeah, me with my songwriting recently. I'm trying to not worry about a particular decision sounding a little bit too Reznor-ish or too Alice in Chains or too Clutch or too whatever.
It's like, yeah, I do love that shit for a reason.
I do want to sound like those
like
things,
it,
actually. Like,
if you like it, maybe you'll like this too.
Yeah,
we should be united in our love for this thing that made me like, I love it so much I wanted to create something like it.
Well, and
we should as long as it's respectful. And I feel like obviously like Event Horizon very much is.
Well, and also in the words of the horrible Phil Anselmo, rip off everybody.
Oh God!
Because if you rip off enough things at once, somewhere in there is an original sound. Now, the horrible Phil Anselmo also yelled white power after doing a Zig Heil at a show. So, like, you know, grain of salt from that guy,
lot of
obviously.
stock.
But, like, I do think the advice about ripping off several things at once is pretty important, because if you want to look at this movie and say it's ripping something off, you can also point out that it's borrowing an awful lot from The Shining and from Hellraiser. And it doesn't pretend not to do those things. It has a blood wave.
Mm-hmm.
Paul knew what he was doing when he put a fucking blood wave in this movie.
Oh
He
yeah,
knew what
about
he was
5 minutes
doing.
before the blood wave hit, I'm like, oh, where's Jack Nicholson?
Yeah. Well,
I think this is like a secret Shining movie, and then the blood wave hit, and I'm like, haha,
well,
I'm
and,
so
and
smart.
when,
Not so
when
secret.
Weir's dead wife says, I've got such wonderful, wonderful things to show you, he knows that that sounds an awful lot like we have such sights to show you. Clive Barker consulted on this project early on in the process. He was in the room. Like, they know that they were doing a little Hellraiser there.
Mhm.
The movie's not pretending to not take influence from anything. If anything, it kind of feels like it throws that stuff out in an extra obvious way, so you're like, oh yeah, that is what this is.
Yeah, so you're like, oh, I thought I recognized that. I love
Yeah.
it specifically with because a lot of the stuff that is done that I enjoy in Alien and in The Shining and Hellraiser, I like how it's done here a little better, because specifically I have such wonderful sights to show you. Frank is never actually intrigued by what he's being shown by the Cenobites,
No.
he doesn't know what he's getting into, and then when he's into it he hates it and he just wants to be a human again.
Mhm.
Like Kirsty has no clue what's going on. No one ever does with the Cenobites. No one is ever into the shit that they're doing, and I feel bad for them. But Weir is genuinely actually longing to see this fucked up shit in a way, and when he gets there, he revels in it,
Yeah.
and he wants to draw other people in. So when she says that line, and he moves forward with it, to me, that line means more to the character, and in a less, it's like not the threatening thing that the Cenobites were saying. The Cenobites are not like, we're about to show you some fucked up shit. We hope you like it, but we guess you probably won't. Versus the because they're married, this like intimate, this like personal, I know you're going to love what you're going to see. I know it's why you're here.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
So I'm going to talk about the lighting for a minute.
Please do.
Please do.
I
Oh, the other
love the
day, Jeff and
way-
I were walking in Buffalo and we saw just a door with like ominous red lighting coming through the glass. And Jeff looks over and they're like, oh, what's going on in there? Suspiria?
Yeah, I was just like, I'm glad we're out here. Like,
Yeah, something
You're
tells
clearly
me.
not supposed to go in there.
obviously not. We went to the Apache show where the lights were blue for most of the night because it was
Which
safe.
is safe and good.
And we had a great time. But so in this movie, I love the colored lighting that is sometimes streaming in through one of the cross-shaped windows, the one that Weir sees in his dream at the beginning of the movie. Fucking love that. Also, I don't know if you guys all noticed this, but the lighting on the event horizon kind of changes over the course of the movie. As it gets creepier and more haunted and further into the movie and stuff, the lighting gets a bit more stylized. Originally, like early on, it's very like kind of dry fluorescent kind of shit. But then as it goes along, it gets colder in a lot of scenes to the point of being like actually just about damn teal tinted. In other places, it stays a little bit warmer, but in this very like harsh red, like emergency lighting kind of way. And that's the other thing that I love is it's all diegetic. When you've got the harsh red danger lighting, it's because the emergency lights have just kicked on. But then the way it gets used is like the red lighting is hitting people's faces, but not the backgrounds behind them. I kind of like that. I think that's fun. But just the way that it gets more stylized as the haunting stuff gets more intense is something that I really love. I know it's a little bit of a basic thing to do in those sorts of situations, but it just always hits for me.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it kind of links in with a lot of the set design stuff, where like when Peters is getting lured to her death, she's running through all those like just coffin shaped tunnels.
Oh yeah.
Which is actually once again another one of those like Warhammer things, because it's very like Necron-ish, but like that's beside the point. I love how she runs through the one coffin doorway and it's like, oh, wonder where that could be leading. And then she runs through like 8 more coffin doorways and a coffin hallway.
And you're like, oh shit,
and you're like,
baby.
oh, she's dead.
You are about
she's so dead. And then she dies.
And then she dies. I found a Tumblr post that said, God. In the Event Horizon universe, there's no need for atmosphere. The scientists and engineers who made the ship just decided to pick the weirdest, most ominous and foreboding aesthetic possible and went ham with it for no particular reason. And you know what? I respect them for that. And I am biting my tongue to reblog this and say scientists and engineers who made the ship. Babe, it's Sam. It was Sam Neill.
Weir.
It's Weir.
William
He's
Weir.
there.
It was Sam Neill's character.
William Weir.
William Weir.
He's
there,
a
dramatic
and
bitch.
He is. I would not be surprised if Weir himself wasn't at home with the modeling software picking apart the Notre Dame. He's like, I know the general shapes I need for the science to work. Let's take them from a cathedral and stick them to the wall.
Good old Weir beer.
Weir beer.
Please.
Me last night when Emma said Morpheus is in this movie, and I'm like, Morbius isn't in this movie. I was so distraught.
Jared Leto.
I thought I forgot Jared Leto being in this.
There's a lot
I popped open IMDb. I'm looking through. I'm like, he's not in this movie. What the fuck is Emma talking about? No, but Lawrence Fishburne, the guy that played Morpheus, is in this movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
This movie's got a lot of recognizable faces.
Absolutely, yeah.
It does.
And they all do a great job. I especially love Jason Isaacs because he gets so little attention in this movie, but he's got this one scene. It's the one where he threatens, who is it, Smitty? With the scalpel, holds it up to his neck to try and get him to calm down. Everyone is like immediately horrified with him doing this, of course, and they're like, hey, DJ, maybe you calm down. And he he has this moment where he kind of like seems like he realizes what he's doing and just drops the scalpel immediately, backs away. And Smitty freaks again in this scene, prompting everyone else to go and restrain him again. Meanwhile, DJ is in the background, seemingly not noticing that anything is happening at all. He seems like he's just so horrified with himself. And he never gets any attention drawn to this. He never, he never gets a scene where he talks about it or anything. But, like, you can tell there was a ton of something going on in there. And I love that Jason Isaacs, just as an actor, put that much effort into something that wasn't going to end up being anything in the movie, basically. This is another one of those movies that feels like everyone who was working on it loved it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think one character that I really enjoy, who is kind of fridged, not like in the traditional sense, but it's kind of like set aside for the majority of the movie, is I think his name's Justin.
Oh yeah. Who dies first?
Poor little man.
He doesn't.
His scenes are so good, and they give you a really good sense. I think that his scenes and Weir's scenes are like the two best like moments that we get of realizing what they could potentially be exposed to. Everyone else is just kind of baffled by the things happening to them. I think also Morpheus is like, I have never told Morpheus, yes.
Miller, perhaps.
Miller.
Lawrence.
Miller's
Fishy, if you're a friend.
No. Miller's like, I've never told anyone this ever, and the ship knew, is very good. But also if you had seen what I've seen, you wouldn't try to stop me when Justin's trying to send himself out the airlock.
Yeah.
So good. And especially when we do see flashes, we're like, oh shit, if I thought I might even possibly be in the situation that I am getting this glimpse of, I would not want to be any chance I would ever be there.
Yeah.
So I love what we get to see of him and his reaction to it, and everyone else's reaction to him. I think that's like the strongest anticipation suspense building section of the movie, and then everything else kind of falls flat for me until Weir finally fucking loses it.
I got 2 things on that too. One on Weir losing it. I'll bring back to that in a second.
yeah.
But one about Justin. there's something about, you don't see this happen as much in modern movies. A lot of the storytelling has been really streamlined, because there's not a lot as much like targeting movies toward specific audiences. There's a lot of broad audience targeting now, so they try and simplify stories down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when Justin refers to Miller as Papa Bear, I think, but he also refers to what's her name, Strack as Stark as Mama
Yeah,
Bear,
and they're
calling him Baby Bear. There's
yeah.
there's a lot of world building in that, just like little bit where they you know that he's it immediately tells you that he's the kind of new member of the team. Everyone's taken a specific liking to him as the new guy, who is the youngest member of the group, kind of thing. But there's like also a really nice like familial like element.
They're
that it
comfortable
brings
with
up.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it highlights how uncomfortable they are with Weir.
Mhm.
yeah, because they're all really tight, and Weir is the guy that they're like, would you shut the fuck up? Constantly. They're constantly telling him to shut up or explain what they're doing and then shut up.
Yeah.
No one's happy with him. But then at later on in the movie, when Weir has snapped and he puts the bomb on the Lewis and Clark, and Miller realizes it, and he's like, Smitty, get off the ship. There is a bomb on the ship. And he's like, and this is my favorite acting moment of the entire movie, because Smitty's just like, no, we just fixed it. We just fixed it. It's finally fixed. We can leave. And he's like, there's a bomb. You got to get the hell off that ship. And he's ripping apart the airlock bay because he knows that that's where the bomb is, because, you know, Weir came in and left. And he opens up his own locker, and there's the bomb, flips it open, and it says 5 seconds left. Zero music, just the background beeping and Smitty's shuddering breath as he realizes, fuck, man, I'm dead. And then the ship blows up.
Ugh.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
It's a hell of a scene.
It's like very upsetting. Big fan.
Can I read another bad Tumblr take, or does someone else have
Yes,
anything to
sure.
say? Okay. Okay. All right, this is really annoying to me. I'm watching Event Horizon again, and while I disagree with the concept, it's such a feast for the eyes for 1997. Blah, 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 blah.
Pause. What do you mean I disagree with the
That's what I'm getting to it.
concept?
I'm getting to it. But something that pissed me off is the conflation of pure evil, that pure evil and pure chaos are related. They aren't. Evil and chaos aren't related. Meh, 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 meh. Okay. Did the movie say that, though? Or did it say that the characters conflate chaos and evil because the characters would see it that way? Weir does not conflate chaos and evil.
No.
Weir is here for that shit.
Yeah. Weir sees the chaos and he's like, finally.
Evil.
A delicious fucking chaos. I'm so happy to finally have let go of my sanity so that I can just vibe.
To beings that, and this is something like, as someone with ADHD, that I've thought about a lot, as beings that need structure and have structured it through time, who have structured it through conversation and relationships with other people and all of these things and memories and trusting our own minds and stuff. Yes, chaos feels evil because it feels wrong and uncomfortable and we don't like it. People who are able to roll with chaos are strange and unusual and we don't really understand them. And when we start to lose a handle on that structure, we feel separated from ourselves, and that feels wrong. So yes, chaos to a group of individuals as humanity, yes, that would feel evil. It's not. Nature is inherently chaotic, and some things just work, and we don't understand, and we don't like that. But no, it's not evil. But yes, we contextualize things as being evil that feel wrong, and chaos is inherently one of those things. So shut the fuck up, Tumblr user. I'm not going to read your name out, but you're wrong.
While we're talking about takes that we disagree with,
yes, please.
I'm not picking a fight with Ebert. I'm not. However,
okay.
I think you would win because he's dead.
Dare I say I've already won because he's but
Take that, you Pulitzer Prize winning
Yeah,
critic.
suck on that, Ebert. I'm alive. So, when he talks about the breaking the laws of physics line, I don't personally like. I understand the basis of his criticism of it. I understand thinking that the line is a little hokey, sure, whatever. But like, the line is, you broke all the laws of physics and you really thought there wouldn't be a price. And I feel like that is the thesis statement of most good sci-fi, actually.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that, like,
Yeah.
I feel like even if the line does come across a little hokey to you, which it kind of doesn't to me, but I understand if it does, I feel like it's just so in the spirit of all great sci-fi that it's kind of, like, forgivable for being a little hokey even, isn't it? Like... that's
Right.
just it's about, like, you know, like, I think Nina mentioned earlier that it's about, like, what you're going to suffer from trying to accomplish the things that you try to accomplish and that kind of thing. Like, is it too much just saying the quiet part out loud, maybe?
Yeah. I think that yeah, that's how I kind of feel about that as
Sure.
well. Is like, come on.
Like, yeah, that's Frankenstein,
Especially
is it
with-
not? That's
It's
Actually,
Jurassic. It's
Frankenstein was the
Jurassic Park.
monster.
It's
It's
Jurassic
Jurassic
Park.
Park,
You spent
yeah.
it is the heart of good sci-fi,
Mhm.
especially sci-fi horror.
yeah, we were so preoccupied with whether we could. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
So
this is.
I
just
love
because they said it differently than Jurassic Park said it doesn't necessarily mean it's wrong in this one. But
I fucking love hubris of man movies. It's
Yeah.
all I've been watching this week.
That's one of the things I
So
love about
true.
all
RoboCop.
sci-fi. There's just so many hubris of man stories. It's good. It always hits. Like,
Yeah. All these
I-
stories where it's just like, oh, we went out, we did a thing, didn't think about the concept, the consequences. None of this stuff was really thought out. And the people who talked about it, we didn't listen to them.
I forgot about the Rammies,
It's-
bro.
You're right. We did watch Terminator and Total Recall
And RoboCop.
and RoboCop all in the same week.
And Alien versus Predator.
It's the same movie, just over and over.
Hey, Paul. I want to talk about Paul for a
Let's
second.
talk about Paul.
I've seen a lot of Paul's movies.
Yeah.
I want to know. I don't want to know. I think it's interesting. I don't need any elaboration, Paul. You don't have to tell me. I think it's really interesting how he went from a director who could linger on things and on the minutia of a scene like the blood streaming from Justin's eyes in Zero Gravity.
Oh my god.
And just like lingering on and flashing things without showing them aggressively. How he went from that to the Resident Evil movies where everything is just there and there's nothing interesting done with it ever. None of the CG, the designs are all resi, so I get it. But like, he never does anything interesting or horrific. Even the Silent Hill movies kind of maintain this sense of like genuine like interest in the designs that they're working with. The Resident Evil movies are just like, here's a new cool thing for Mila to hack up. It's never like, there's never a moment where the gore of a character dying is like really settled on. If a character shows up, I know they're gonna die, and it's usually just getting eaten alive and torn apart or by birds or some shit.
Huh.
It's never this like, we walk in on a corpse and there's guts hanging out all over the table.
Mhm.
Or we walk in on a frozen body and when we turn the gravity on, it falls and shatters into a million pieces. It's never any of that. It's so, I feel like we lost something
Yeah.
with that.
Speaking of, I love the turning on the gravity scene. Just to jump back to stuff in the movie.
Mhm.
Right.
I love how they show like there's like all the coolant just kind of drifting around in the grav core room, and then the gravity turns on and it all just splashes down into the bottom. I love how they show
Yeah.
that happening.
It's the best CG in the movie.
Yeah,
Let's be real.
The frozen corpse shattering
the
on
other
the ground
stuff
is
was
also
eh.
very, very cool.
That's so good.
But-
I love a good deep freeze corpse shatter.
Right. Also, because like you don't really expect it. You know, you don't
Mhm.
think about the fact that, of course, that corpse is so frozen that it would shatter on the ground, and it only hasn't shattered because there's no gravity. Like, it doesn't occur to you until it happens, and then it's like, well, of course that would happen, though. Speaking of, you want to hear a little bit about the zero grav scenes, because
I would love to, actually, 'cause
Originally,
they're really good.
there were supposed to be a lot more of them, but they turned out to be difficult and expensive enough to shoot that even most of the zero grav scenes they use the magnetic boots in. But in all the scenes where there's a person drifting, this is insane. And you can find videos, like behind the scenes clips of them filming these things. If there's a scene of a person like drifting right side up down a hallway, the way that they shot that was actually that they built that hallway vertically and they
Oh
lowered
my
the person down
God.
on a cable and they just held their body like horizontal, parallel to the ground as they were lowered down, doing all their moving and acting and whatnot, just maintaining that so that then the perspective shift of having the camera aimed straight up at them, it seems like they're just drifting down a hallway and they're right side up and the hallway is right side up, but there just isn't any gravity right now to define that. But that's not what it is. It's a person getting lowered on a cable down a shaft, actually.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And he said that they built like sideways and upside down sets and suspended the actors in those places for them to do the zero G acting, even if there wasn't a ton of drifting around to do. And that turned out to be difficult and expensive enough that they couldn't do it as much as he wanted to. But it comes across real good, doesn't it? Like,
it's so good that my favorite type of special effects is this kind that I don't think about.
Yeah,
the kind that's
it doesn't
so
occur
good
to you that
that
there's
it makes
something
me
going on there.
believe. Yeah. Maybe Paul, this is the movie that he wanted to make, and then he's like, I made it. I don't. And also, I lost a bunch of it. Is it worth it to make things that I care about anymore?
And here's another thing.
I don't want to project too much onto this man, but
I know
Christ.
this is going to really hit with you specifically, Nina. When this came out and it wasn't doing well, Paul was understandably pretty bummed about it, and he happened, for one reason or another, I don't remember what it was, to be hanging out with Kurt Russell, known for having starred in The Thing some 15 years previous. And they were talking, and Paul was talking about how he was pretty bummed with the reception that Event Horizon was getting and the circumstances of the release, whatever. And they end up watching the movie together. And I fucking love this. At the end of the movie, Kurt Russell turns to him and he says, "Forget how this movie is doing right now. In 15 years' time, this is going to be the movie that you're glad you made."
Oh, that's nice.
That's really great.
And Paul was really vindicated over the next 8 or 9 years as this movie got really popular with the home video audience. And then the studio contacted him and said, "Hey, there's plenty of interest in this movie. Would you want to bust out all that deleted footage and make the extended cut, the director's cut, release it the way that you wanted to put it out?" And he said, "Fuck yeah." And that was when they went and found the tapes in the warehouse and they were too degraded to use. It's
tragic.
fucking
This is
sad.
the shit that Martin Scorsese talks
It
about
is, actually.
all the time. And that's like his entire career is about, please preserve your films. Please preserve old, like, not even this new
It's
shit.
Peter Jackson's whole thing now as well, is just doing restorations of old shit. Like,
I don't know. It's cool to see guys pushing for stuff like that, especially when this was a movie that over the course of less than 10 years, its film had degraded enough due to improper storage that it is lost permanently.
yeah, it didn't even take that long.
This is a modern era movie that is permanently lost because of it. Really fucking sad.
I'm feeling deeply profound things about this movie
Really,
right now.
right? It ends up turning into, because of the circumstances of its release and not even the content of the movie, it ends up just turning into a discussion about the preservation of art and how capitalism ruins it. And that's, god damn it, half of the statement of the movie is how capitalism ruins perfectly good things. Like,
God, yeah.
Also, just while we were recording here, I saw a Medium article that was literally, that tweet that's just like, "Scientists, we finally created the torment nexus from the book. Please don't make the torment nexus." It's this article was like, how to make an event horizon, like parentheses, really. And it's like, that I didn't read it. I don't know if it was just instructions on how to make the 3 intertwining circles on the sphere. But frankly, I'm so annoyed at the concept of an article that's just like, how to make an event horizon from the movie Event Horizon.
From the movie Please Don't Make the Event Horizon.
Maybe that's an article talking about the cathedral stuff. Maybe it's just like something like that.
maybe it's about black holes.
I'm not going to read
Did you
it
consider
because
that?
I would, I just really enjoy the Torment Nexus meme.
It's
so
good.
that's
It's a
all
good
I'm going to
one.
read into it.
I feel like it doesn't even need said how good of a name Event Horizon is as a metaphor for what Sam's toying with and what they're experiencing by being on a ship that's been in a situation and is now out of that situation
the sheer
and
destructive
seeing the
force and the
things.
inescapability of a black hole, the point of no return
The-
indication in the
The
term, like,
potentiality that is in that moment. There, like in House Usher, there's the moment where Verna's talking about the moment just before the anticipation there. That's the Event Horizon.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she uses the word or not, but like that's the same. Part of me is like she might have. I was so
with Mike's writing being
enraptured by
the way that it is, I wouldn't even be surprised, actually.
yeah. But yeah, that's the. I think this movie captures that feeling perfectly of the just before
Just on the cusp.
the thing. Just you never quite get it. And honestly, again, I think that as much as I miss the movie we never got to see,
Yeah.
and I wish we could see it, I'm also like this movie is something very special because of the fact that and you can't have it.
Honestly, kind of.
But you know what we know and you can have?
Noah's Notes?
Noah's Notes.
I would love some
let's
Noah's
get some
notes.
Noah notes.
Please give me some Noah's notes.
Immediately Noah's Notes. Noah says, loaded and locked and cocked and ready to rock, he says.
Yeah, that's what
Nice.
they say right as they get ready to take off, or something.
Yeah.
So,
Go
yeah,
off.
that's
Yeah.
great.
No,
Oh, actually, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Or comment on something?
Yeah.
I liked the tubes that they put all the actors in and filled them
The
with
stasis
liquid.
tanks. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're cool.
stasis
I like
tanks.
them.
Those are great.
Yeah, those were really cool. It seemed like they actually had the actors
In
in
some liquid.
those
Mhm.
and just in the water, and then they drained it. And I thought it was all cool.
They don't put
know,
actors
well
in
done.
tanks full of
There's-
goo like they used to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for real.
Actually, on that note, and the zero G scenes, anymore that would have been pure CG, and you lose a lot of the perspective of what a person looks like moving through space when it's a perfectly constructed CG environment versus a film tricks practical set.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
definitely think the same thing about putting actors in tubes full of Kool-Aid,
Absolutely.
where we really gain a lot by having them
the
in
distortion
big tubes.
of Mark Hamill's face in the back to tank.
Yes.
God, yeah.
Oh my God.
With
Yeah.
the glass warp and everying, it really does a lot of
And you're
work
just like,
on
oh
stuff
man, is
like
he
that.
okay? Like,
Yeah,
what the
literally.
fuck's going on in there?
You getting there, Mark?
That was my big thing, because after the doctor like wakes up and is like looking around in the tank and he's in the ooze and everything, I'm watching it. I'm like,
He's in there.
they have him in that for
He's in there for
a little bit
while.
longer than I would be comfortable
Yeah.
with.
Okay,
He's in there for
so
a while.
Saw trivia. There is a trap later in the franchise.
I know this one.
Where Agent Strom has his head in a box full of water. And it looks really good. And the reason it looks really good is because
They did it?
was actually a box full of water.
They
and
saw
the man,
trapped him for real.
the man almost drowned because
my God.
it's just in a box of water. And he would have to, like, 3 seconds after he makes the "get me out of here" sign, the door pops open, dumps all the water out real quick. But like, it took a second. And
Who'd they put in
everyone
there? Kane
talks about
Hodder?
this
Like,
thing, and he's just like,
fucking-
yeah, that was a really hard thing to film. It was really difficult. And,
Jesus.
just wanted to share that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Speaking of
terrifying.
actors and tanks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also,
You can tell as well watching him. It's uncomfortable.
He's not happy.
He's not.
also, while we're talking about the tanks, I like the differences between the tanks on the Lewis and Clark and the tanks on the Event
And on
Horizon.
Mhm.
Because not just
Mhm.
the room on the Event Horizon is a little bit bigger and it's got that big circular tank in the middle with like extra fluid in it or whatever, but also like
Blood.
the color difference and the tiles are different and everything. Like the whole vibe of the thing.
The Event Horizon looks very alien.
It looks a little bit less human. It looks more clinical, scarier, might I say. It looks like the evil version of the same room. I love it.
yeah.
The
Yeah.
color of the fluid is different, or the lighting in the fluid is different even, because I think the one on the Lewis and Clark is like blue, whereas the shit on the Event Horizon is straight green. And
Yeah.
there's something about green fluids that's just like, I feel like you want to stay away from that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, also, one last thing on the fluid tanks before Nina gets back to reading. One of the things I really liked is that in a lot of stuff like this, you're going to have guys in underwear and girls in underwear but topless for whatever reason in the stasis tanks. And I appreciated that, just like in Alien, everyone was just in regular underwear and
it's like compression
there was
shorts
no nudity
and
involved in the
sports bra.
tanks. Yeah, it's, it doesn't matter really either way, but it was kind of nice to have it not be just a moment where we got to see boobs.
Yeah.
Because that, I feel like there's a lot of times sci-fi does stuff like that.
It does.
And it will happen and be like, get it? Yeah, you know. And sure, but also it feels less real sometimes.
Yeah, just watch Life Force or something.
Mm-hmm.
Just watch
We'll
Species.
joke for the people who know that movie.
Off topic, the entire inclusion of one female character in the Predator movie, specifically so that the movie wasn't as gay as it could have been, is very funny to me because she does nothing
She doesn't do
to the
anything.
story.
She's barely there.
Or she's just there so that Arnold can be like, I'm into woman, and that's it.
Yeah, meanwhile, Jesse Ventura and Will Dukes are definitely in a relationship, a romantic
They
relationship.
seem like it a little bit.
When he dies, the guy's like, he was my looks away friend, and it's like, yeah, way.
Yeah, Predator's gay. Predator's an absolutely gay movie. Like
Predator 2?
The inherent homoeroticism of being hunted for sport.
So anyways,
Okay,
Noah's notes about the movie Event Horizon.
Noah says, Mars has ... women. Smith's right. Damn, lesbian rep. Yeah, she's into that's how it be. I feel that. Noah says, porn corner jump scare. Yeah, the porn corner comes out of nowhere. They just got
Another
In
reference
Weir's
to Alien
fantasy
there.
moment. Yeah, firstly, that. Also, it's just Weir's imagination moment. So he jump scares himself with the
an
porn
imaginary
corner.
porn corner. Yeah.
I love that for him. I love that the whole crew here is so pissed at the doctor. They're like, better tell us what happened because we're just trying to live our lives and you dragged us here, bitch. Noah says they're unfortunately really proud of the CG here. It looks better than I remember from a couple weeks back though. When we were watching it when Noah was high,
I swear I could see the polygons.
In lower
Yeah, I
light
felt
scenes,
like I was-
it looks okay, but
Yeah, it's very clearly CG and it could look a little nicer. But also, there's almost something charming about CG that's like, yeah, it's CG, get over it. Versus CG that's like, no, I swear to God, I'm real. And I'm like, I don't believe
I
you.
don't believe
Yeah.
you. They're throwing water at you. They're like, wow, look at our water. And I'm like, that looks like
the stuff in
polygons, bro.
Yeah, the CG in this just feels like so jarring next to all the practical shit that they did because they did their absolute best to keep everything in camera that they could.
It's interesting.
So then it's just kind of
Noah
like, I don't know,
says-
could you not spin a wrench on a wire or something? And
Right?
like, I don't know.
Genuinely. They're like, we'll fix it in post. Noah says, I'm so in love with how people in the 90s were so sure that CDs would be the thing forever.
This is something they talked about on Dead and Lovely when they covered this movie as well. They were just like, oh man, 2047, surely by then they won't have come up with anything better than a compact disc, right? Like,
God, you see it and there's like, it's a 500 CD, like, drive rack.
between that, they came up with this theory. Between that, the smoking, and the straight razor, they were like, what if this is just a spaceship full of hipsters? What if that's what's going on here?
So
The rest
true.
of the world has moved on, but these guys are just like, nah.
That's funny.
Honestly, I feel like if commercialized space travel does become a thing, there will be certain pockets that create that sort of like retro futurism version of spaceships for people to be in because people love that aesthetic.
I also
And it's because of movies like
it's
this.
because it's awesome.
I also think
if it doesn't look like
there's
this, I don't want to go to space.
I think there's a potential that we might need to regress technologically for some space travel things just
For functionality.
for how things work in space, because some things work weird in space. So I'm willing to be open to that. Smoking in a fucking smoking.
Yeah, you gotta. They should be vaping. Like that's
smoking
all.
in space. Yeah, no, for safety reasons, if nothing
For
else.
safety. This is my safety vape.
You can't smoke in space. You should not be setting fires in space.
It really seems pretty terrible. I mean, as
I'm going to
as
use up some of my
referenced
hard-earned
in,
oxygen.
Miller's like monologue about fire and zero gravity, which I think is a beautifully written little piece for him to be saying when he tells that story about the guy.
Noah says.
Oh right.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out. Oh, I love the magical filters they can run things through. Yeah, and then on the
Yeah.
other side of technology, we have
Enhance.
I'll just run it through
Zoom.
some filters.
Enhance.
That's my favorite part of House Usher. Can't you zoom and enhance?
You can't do
That's
that in
not
real
how
life.
it works in the real life.
And I love that he sends
seen
him
it on
another
TV.
version of the picture and he says, I enhanced it.
Pim,
But-
you are my favorite person.
This
in the
actually,
world.
speaking of Star Trek earlier,
yeah.
and just like past thoughts about modern tech and future tech, I saw this post about how Star Trek somehow correctly predicted the existence of iPads,
Yeah.
but hilariously also assumed that they could only hold one important thing at a time. So you would still need 700 iPads, all with one piece of information.
Well, I mean,
each.
That's what I
the
was gonna
iPads in
say.
Star Trek aren't like things that hold one thing. It's just that they only connect to the main computer. It's more that they're portable monitors
Nope.
than anything else.
You see Picard with like 30 of them on his
That's
desk
true.
flipping through different
Well,
things.
that's just him having a bunch of tabs open at once. That's all that is.
I love
So
him.
true.
He has like 6 different monitors. And that's watching Total Recall and RoboCop. They have like tracking devices, but they're in giant chunky CCTV things on
Yeah,
a stick.
it's still like a CRT screen.
Yeah,
It's just
CRT,
2
yeah.
inches wide.
I love that.
It's so thick. Anyway, Noah says, I love seeing Weir haunted by his fucking death ball that's waiting to kill them all. Yeah.
Every time you see
deserves
that
it.
thing like reflected in his eye, every time he gets a flash of the drive powering up, it's just like, it's coming for you, Doctor.
And sometimes I love that, like, sometimes it does that for other people as well, like right before it kills them. Because it does that to Peters before it lures her through the coffin hallways. You get the same
Sorry,
shot.
I just yawned into the mic and it was a really weird sound. So
Looking forward to catching that in the edit.
yeah, you're welcome.
I'll make it louder in the final product.
Please don't.
Bass boosted.
Can you put some
Yaw.
reverb
Oh,
on it? Auto-tune.
I hope it didn't even get picked up. I really hope it didn't get picked up. Noah says, I love them working on the bridge with all the viscera on the wall still. Yeah, I thought about that while watching it. It's just like they have to do their job, and their job is not to clean this
They
shit
don't have
up.
time for it.
There's
So-
shit all over. There's like skulls imprinted in the wall.
They're just stuck
and they're
in
just
there.
like, well, time to pass through some filters.
Yeah.
Guy who's only seen Annihilation voice. Noah says, I love that the ship clearly has a mind of its own. Just look at the drive spinning up by itself again. It's clear what's going down. I don't think the ship is sentient, but I do think that it's fucked. I don't know that the ship has wants and desires. I think it's one of those things where it has one purpose, and anything that like is corrupting about it, all of the hallucinations and things, I don't think it actually knows anything. I think it's the same thing constantly, this influence that just happens to be influencing the same part of everyone's minds to see specific things. So I think it's more that they are fucking themselves up by having these haunting regrets and fears that they have hidden so deep down inside of them that the ship can like kind of pick up on that frequency more than the ship is actually locating personally their specific fears and trying to show those to them.
Oh, so then
for any
the
reason.
kind of like Cenobite type connection sort of shows itself with a character like Weir, who is shown the thing that haunts him, and he finds it enticing rather than repulsive.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all in their own minds and their own reactions to it show that. But that's especially with Miller being like, the ship knows. I've never told anyone that.
Right.
And it's like,
well, no, your
Miller.
mind is doing that to you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll buy that read.
But that's my personal thought on it.
Kind of like I was saying about The
including
Shining
the
when we covered that. Where it's
Right,
like there's,
yeah, no, very
this is
similar.
just the energy of the place, and it just pours into an open vessel.
And it might be that same suffering and discomfort is what kind of fuels back into the ship to the point where eventually it can bring itself to power back up again.
Right. Kind of creating a misery feedback loop of sorts.
Yeah, with the circularness of it and the like. And the, Okay. Noah says, I've heard people say that Weir's motivations here are hard to follow, and I'm not sure I get it. He's a man racked with grief who probably made this shit as a way to get to the other side in some way. It looks like it all randomly falls apart, but even before they got to the event horizon, he was having minor episodes. He was never stable. The ship woke up to him as a force to be used. Kind of reminds me of The Overlook with Jack.
No.
Ta-da!
Yeah,
there it is.
I don't think he's a difficult character to follow at all. I don't know why anybody would
No.
say that.
No, there's there were a lot of 2-star Letterboxd
Oh, sure.
reviews talking about him being a really difficult character to understand and his motivations. And obviously, we lose some of the stitched together elements that make his descent smoother in the deleted 40 minutes.
Unfortunately.
But also, I think that with him having these like episodes before they even get there, it does, and like you were saying, with him shaving with the same straight razor still, it really does feel like it was a pretty telegraphed action.
Yeah, well, like
that when he gets there, I'm not surprised when he starts to fall apart. Like, it's not like him randomly becoming oh no, I'm a mess. It's like, well,
he was kind of like this already.
He wasn't doing good.
Yeah, he doesn't use the razor because he wants to like reconnect with his dead wife. It's because he wants to connect with his wife's death. Like, that's what that action is, and that's fucked up.
Yeah,
it is, especially since he's the one who caused it. Like,
he seems haunted by that, but then he doesn't really question the notion that opening a portal to hell brings him closer to her. He's just kind of like, oh, I'll do that then. Like, what, buddy? No.
But yeah, again, the idea that you're dooming a bunch of other people to not be able to experience. I think that evil is more, or that the absence of good, since a lot of people describe hell as the absence of God. I think that it's more upsetting when there is the potential that all those people that ended up in that other dimension, in that other horrific place, could have had happy lives if it weren't for Weir's ambition and Weir's drive. I think it's only terrible to me, because I know there are a lot of people who really like would find it more upsetting to think that the implication is that there is no such thing as a good place, but I don't think that's said by this movie. No. I don't think this movie is ever like hell is all there is, but it certainly is saying hell is all there is for you motherfucker. Take me, you leave them alone, Noah says. No. I love Weir just saying no because he has all the cards.
Yeah.
Miller has no leverage.
Yeah, Miller's got absolutely nothing when he says that.
I don't know what he thought he was doing there.
Like, he has that bomb, but like the bomb wasn't really gonna set anything up well.
Nah.
He's just like, well, I guess that's it then.
Right.
I'll force his hand.
But yeah, that's it for Noah's notes. I love this movie.
My notes got really choppy in the middle. I think there's like 3 or 4 unfinished notes where I just moved on to something new.
What about is that what the umbilicus is?
Oh yeah, when they connect to the ship,
like...
and he's just like, he just says the umbilicus, which is obviously it's the connecting cord, the umbilical cord. It makes sense.
It's a term they use
umbilicus
in Star Trek as well for the like main controls connector between the saucer section and the drive section of the Enterprise.
It's a really
what about
funny...
the one that just, can you scroll it up a little bit? What about some blood quotation marks?
Oh, that's when that's all that quote was supposed to be as well. It's when she's like, I found some blood, and then behind her is the plastered wall.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But she sees a smear on the control station. She's like, I found some blood. Rodney Dangerfield noises.
What was I gonna say? Oh, about the 10 out of 10 for this movie, I still agree with that. But I fully, again, see where Emma's coming from. My love for this movie definitely comes from
what it could have been.
what it could have been.
Yeah.
And again, I've said it over and over, just the what it could have been makes it as it is.
Well, and what's still in it, but you don't get to really have fully.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's been the episode.
That's Event Horizon.
I guess it
Thanks
is.
for listening to me talk about one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
And then
good
making everyone else talk
Thank you
about
for
it.
sharing it
I
with
love
us.
it.
Yeah. I didn't watch this until 2020.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like for the
I
first
watched
time?
it
Actually a
in
bit
person
surprising.
with Nina.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we did a double feature with Ghost Ship,
I could have.
and let me tell you,
Wait a minute.
that is a great double
Wait,
feature,
just
and
a
I
really good
highly
double
recommend
Hold on a
it.
second. I've been telling Noah to watch this movie since like goddamn 2015.
Oh,
Are you
another
telling
one?
Me?
You have. Okay.
God damn
You
it,
have.
Noah.
And okay, the reason we watched it that day, because I had bought it on Blu-ray.
I don't care why you watched it then. I care why you
Sight
didn't watch it for 5 years
unseen,
before that.
Because okay, no, here's what happened, right? It was on my list, but it wasn't streaming anywhere because it had been on Netflix when you recommended, and then it disappeared. And I'm like, I'll find it eventually. I picked it up on Blu-ray. At the same time, Nina picked up a stack of garbage movies. And we watched Ghost Ship, and I'm like, I really want to watch Event Horizon. I believe if memory serves, I might have even mentioned you saying Jeff's been wanting me to watch this for ages.
That could have happened.
Okay.
I'm not going to say it did.
I just
But-
It could have.
But yeah, there was no reason for us to watch those back to back. We did not think that, but they are so similar.
Really, yeah.
There,
There's-
it's a good double feature. You watch Ghost Ship first.
Yes, please watch
obviously.
watch Ghost Ship first, because Event Horizon is definitely served by the similarities. Ghost Ship is not.
Yeah, it also Ghost Ship is so funny
Oh
intentionally
yeah. It's
that and then also unintentionally, so that when you watch Event Horizon, it actually feels like a gut punch of a gritty movie that's very, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Plus in
yeah.
Ghost
Anyway,
Ship, you get a young Carl Urban with long hair, which is very nice.
you do
That's true.
get man bun Carl Urban. Anyway, this has been Event Horizon. Do we know what we're watching next time?
Of course. I mean, Jeff, we're about to watch.
Frankenhooker.
No,
The Void.
we're not watching The Void.
Okay, I don't.
No, we're
wanna
not
watch
watching The
anything.
Void without you. Come on now.
Are we gonna do our House Usher episode next?
No, next is you and Emma out of town, which
Oh.
is why Jeff,
Yeah.
we're gonna watch.
Frankenhooker, like I
Put
said.
it in post. Not Frankenhooker.
They'll have a very special
will have
treat for you.
something for
Yeah,
you.
I totally forgot we're out of town,
Yeah,
but
it's
we
a,
are.
it's a
Yeah.
Noah Jeff duo episode, and we're gonna chop the shit on something.
Yeah, who even knows what the hell we're
Frankenhooker.
up to?
Not Frankenhooker.
Listen, you are not giving Frankenhooker the fair shake that it deserves.
Genuinely, from what Jeff at one point, we were at your parents' house and they just ran through the whole thing. I think it's maybe you'd have
It is
fun
a
with
fun-
it.
Frankenstein with big
ridiculous
fishnets and boots. Whatever. Frankenstein with big fishnets and boots. Whatever.
Hey guys, Jeff doing the edit here. Don't mind my voice, I'm a little bit sick at the moment. Me and Noah ended up deciding that we're gonna do Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses, which I'm very excited about. Though I do feel a need to mention that Frankenhooker is legitimately just way better than you expect it to be. Highly recommend it.
Oh, buddy, you got no
Anyway.
idea.
Thank you guys for listening. Tune in next time to see what these two have come up with. I've been one of your hosts, Nina. You can find me at Nina Wolverina on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Instagram. I got a book coming out. It'll be out by the time that you are hearing this episode. It's the little vampire book that I wrote. Will be out on paperback and Kindle, as well as completely fully released for free on Royal Road. So depending on what format you prefer, you can read it for free. You can read it for 99 cents, or you can read it for $10.
Huh. How about
Yay.
that? That's options.
Yeah.
And it's called My Little Vampire.
Oh, that
right?
would have been
It's
such
actually
a good
called
name.
Blood in the Event Horizon.
Ah.
It's
Some
called
blood in the
it's
Event
called
Horizon.
Passengers on the Voyage of the Demeter in the Water There's also blood. That's what.
What a good name.
Thanks. Yeah, it's called Blood in the Water, though. You can find it on all of my socials, or you can DM me and ask me for a PDF. If I don't care, you can have the book. You can have
Nina
it.
Resner out here, like,
with
please
the
pirate
name-
my book. God.
Is there a Jaws crossover
Next,
since it's called Blood in the Water?
In the
Vampire
sequel.
Shark?
Okay.
Vampire Shark in the
Vampire
sequel.
Shark?
You
Has
heard
that
it here
been
first.
done?
I'm
Without
not
a
aware
doubt,
of
it's
it
been
being
done,
Zombie
but we'll
Shark
do
has
it
been
again.
done.
Sharknado's been
But
done.
Vampire
Sharktopus has been
Shark?
done.
Octopus has been done.
Anyways, I've been Nina, but with me has also been.
It's me, Noah, Baba the Bad, BUBBADABAD, Twitch, Twitter, Insta, Blue Sky. I have this memory of back in the day that YouTubers used to have, like, they would plug their personal Facebook page and have you follow them back before, like, business pages were as much of a thing. And I just,
There were a handful
what
of people who did
what a
that.
wild
Yeah,
life.
that was insane, wasn't it?
Yeah, I used to be like Facebook friends with like 3 different like small time YouTubers who eventually started posting like normal shit because I think they mostly thought they had cleared out their like
Oh.
account.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was what Lacey Sturm from Flyleaf did for the longest time until she had too many Facebook friends and she couldn't get any more. So then she made a regular page for people to just go follow.
Me being
And
Facebook
oh golly,
friends
is
with
she
pop
problematic?
country
I have
musician
no
Shay
idea
Mooney.
what she's been doing for the last I don't know how long.
Conversion therapy.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
On herself.
Fuck that.
On herself, I might add.
Fuck
Yeah.
Which is really
Yeah.
sad.
It's really
Oh,
sad.
man. If
Yeah.
you or a loved one has been affected by the culture surrounding Christian rock music, you may be entitled to financial compensation.
God, I wish.
Right?
Ugh.
John Cooper of
Um,
Skillet can pay me directly to my Venmo account.
I thought you were about to say John Cooper Mellencamp, and I'm like, that's not his
That's
name.
not his name.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm Emma, also known as Emma Panada. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Emma Panada. I'm also writing a TTRPG called All the Witches. You can find information about that at allthewitches_ on Twitter.com.
And I'm
Nice.
Jeff. You can find me on Tumblr at What Is It You Pray For?
And yeah, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.